2 years and 1 month ago, we started this podcast to go ahead and give people a wider view on what it's like going through Final Fantasy XIV. And now we're at the conclusion of that arc. What a journey it's been.
It has been a wild ride, and I'm surprised I actually managed to get you to go through with this all.
I think the starting was really the hardest part.
Yeah, I will not lie. Getting you through ARR was probably the biggest hurdle for this.
Mm-hmm. But I think that it was well worth it in the end. Hello everyone, welcome to the Big Cat Aethercast.
I am Ray.
I am Leo.
And yeah, in this episode, we've come to the end, and we must walk.
The long-awaited Endwalker MSQ podcast is here.
Yep, we are covering all of 6.0 for this podcast. We aren't talking about anything beyond the MSQ, because there's a lot to go through, to be perfectly honest.
Right, and even with this, we basically sped through MSQ as hard as possible. I have done no hand or gatherer crafting or quest lines. I barely did any role quests. We will go over the one that I did when it becomes relevant. And I am still leveling up my classes. I haven't even done any continuation on relic grinding or anything like that. It was pure driven emotion going through this patch or through this expansion.
And to be honest, that's probably the most succinct way to put Endwalker. It is literally pure emotion from start to finish. It is a story of despair, conquering despair, living life for what it's worth, and saying fuck you to everything that tries to stop you.
It is certainly relevant to the times that we live in.
I don't like that. I really don't like it, but then again, there's some actual context you don't know. Did you know that Soken, the musician for this, while going through Endwalker, was dealing with cancer?
Yes, he believed that he was on death's door and basically poured his heart and soul into Endwalker's music.
Yeah.
I was aware of that.
Okay, so you are aware of that. And it affected Yoshi P and the writing of this. It really did.
I think just knowing how Yoshi P is, I don't think that is surprising. I think that they basically saw the signs, especially with the way that the story was going, and said, fuck it, we're writing this wave all the way out, and let Soken do his thing, God, as much as he probably should not have.
Yeah, not to mention this was during the height of the pandemic.
Right, so while Shadowbringers did have the tail end affected by COVID, this is where things really hit the fan as far as that's concerned, and I know because we started trying to get me into this during the tail end of COVID.
Yes.
And I think the reason why I couldn't at the time was because the laptop that I was using was so old that it was chugging trying to run it at bare minimum.
Yeah, and with the upcoming rework of the graphics in Dawn Trail, that thing would not have lived.
It would not have, but it needed to have been put down Old Yeller style anyway. So yeah. It was bound to happen.
But yeah, we've gotten to Endwalker, and I just want your raw, unfiltered thoughts on this whole experience.
On 14 in general.
On 14 in general. The whole Hydaelyn and Zodiark arc.
So,
from ARR to Endwalker.
I would say it's very clear that they wrote ARR to be very nebulous. They didn't exactly they wanted some themes set up. They wanted some heroes and villains to be preset, and then they would go back and fill in details later, which is very much how it appeared and very much how they ran it. I would say by the time we got to Endwalker, they sicked the fucking landing. Because it was pulled off with aplomb. It was incredibly well done, especially with a lot of the string pulling they did in Shadowbringer to go ahead and get the setup properly. A lot of Endwalker success depended on Shadowbringers pulling off as well as it did.
Yeah, it was a rocky start. They did not know where to go with Heavensward. And then they started getting a plan with Stormblood, and then they had enough strings there that they could start pulling on them and create something magnificent with Shadowbringers, and brought it all to a roaring conclusion with Endwalker.
Yeah. And I think that's ultimately the best way to see that cycle from beginning to end. It is definitely, it also in going back and replaying earlier dungeons, even now with some of the reworks, I am surprised some of the difficulty spikes do hold up. You and I have our villains of ARR in Zamail Darkhold
and Orm
Vale. But also thinking about things like Dome and Tower, I'm trying to remember...
Doma Castle.
Doma Castle, Holminster Switch, even now still scares me.
Yeah.
Even though I think Vanaspati, we did a Vanaspati run not too long ago, that honestly came pretty close to looking like some of our early Holminster Switch scenarios.
Yes, our friend Lumi was being the sage for the party, and she was struggling.
To be fair, I kind of forgot to use some of my mids middle of that, and then I was panicked using them at the end, which is not how you're supposed to tank.
No,
so I bear some responsibility for that, but we pulled it off in the end.
Yeah, you're supposed to use Blackest Night, you fuck!
I know, I forget because I'm used to using it. I'm used to proccing Blackest Night, and then the enemy not do enough damage to actually proc it.
Yeah,
no, they will do that now. They will actually do that now.
Yeah, when you're doing a full pull, use Blackest Night.
Yes. But really, just the incremental increases going forward from ARR through the entirety of all the expansions, you really get to see the work they've pulled. And I think from what I've heard of Dawn Trail, I think a lot of the complaints is we have to start over with a new saga, and so people are not as invested because they have to start from scratch.
Yeah, basically. I'm going to use a quote from, well, not a full quote, but I'm paraphrasing from a YouTuber I watched. Garrett and Kyle from Grinding Gear. Mm-hmm. Garrett was saying that all they wanted was something with the bear to at least be better than ARR. And he got that.
Right.
He wasn't expecting something grandiose.
Yeah.
We got the bare minimum of something better than ARR. And I'll be honest, I feel like it's around the same level as Stormblood, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. I think that some people would say that in a derogatory sense. I take that as obviously a much more wholesome way, because I actually did like Stormblood.
Yeah.
But I think that, and I have the same question as going through Endwalker. How are they going to end it so that we don't feel like it's a complete letdown going forward? Because one of the issues that I have with some storytelling is that you hit a natural crescendo, and it's like whatever justification you have to go through for the next tier is going to be utter nonsense. And we've officially hit that, and then it firmly establishes, no, we're doing something else after this point. And so I feel like the way that Endwalker ended gives me a sufficient justification to be like, okay, I feel comfortable continuing the story because I know whatever happens is not related to this.
Right.
And I think that's very evidently made clear in the final segments.
I'm going to tell you this right now. 6.1 to 6.5 is basically a mini expansion. Mm-hmm. It's basically its own set of things with coming back with old characters and doing their own things, patching up stuff that happened in Endwalker and stuff like that, kind of filling in the patches with the patch.
Right.
And then it kind of closes off, and then 6.55, we get the hook to go to Dawn Trail.
Okay.
So, what happens in 6.1 to 6.5, some people have complained that it's its own isolated story and it's not going to have any impact in the future. They are so wrong on that, because this is clearly going to be set up for future things
down the road.
Maybe not right away, but clearly further down the road.
This is an Ononkalhai situation, I'm thinking.
Yeah, it's kind of appropriate given that I'm just going to say this right now. This patch story involves the 13th.
Okay.
So the Void.
All right. As far as what you've been going through, you've been going update with current content. Anything interesting you want to share on that front?
I forget when the last time we recorded was.
I would say that I know that Occult Crescent, that we got a new bunch of relic weapons that came out fairly recently.
Yeah, so let's see. The Big Cat Aethercast was last month. So I believe I believe the Occult Crescent had just come out, and it's alright. It's not my favorite.
Right.
I think the biggest problem with the Occult Crescent is that the dungeon that they provided as an incentive to keep going through it is designed exactly like the Baldessian Arsenal in Eureka. As in, you need to get a pre-prepared group and have basically people shot-calling you what to do in voice chat. And it's basically on the equivalent of high-end extreme close to a savage.
Okay.
Which means I cannot participate in it because I am not comfortable doing that.
Because it requires almost exact precision.
Yeah. In Boja, there was actually several things that you could do with normal groups.
To compensate.
You could go through. They did have savage versions of them, but in order to get through the story, you had to do the regular ones, which I vastly preferred. Mm-hmm. Occult Crescent is not bad. I will say I'm not looking forward to whatever step they're having plans for the next relic weapon. Because the first step of the relic weapon involves getting something from ARR's relic weapon gathering.
Oh, God.
Atma. So in order to get these Atma, you either had to do fates in the Occult Crescent in specific locations that would have a rare chance to drop an Atma. Very rare, like a 5% chance.
Oh.
Or you had to do fates in each of the 6 Dawn Trail zones to get 3 of the corresponding Atma from each zone. So you needed 18 total.
Right.
And I preferred doing the fates than going through the Occult Crescent, which does not spark positivity.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
But thankfully, doing the Atma was a one-and-done thing. Once you get the Atma, all the first stage relic weapons are tome requirements.
Okay.
You take 1,500 tomes to get 3 items and turn it into a weapon.
Okay.
And I now have most of my classes equipped with one of the relic weapons. I'm just missing Scholar, Red Mage, and I think that's it.
Yeah. And I know for a fact that that we are on the verge of another patch coming up soon.
Yes, by the time we'll be uploading it right before patch 7.3, which will be the capstone of Dawn Trail's MSQ. Kind of like with Heaven's Ward and Stormblood, the 0.3 patch is the capstone of the base story. And then the following 2 patches will be the lead into the next expansion.
Right. And so that I'm very curious once we get up to that point, because I don't think we'll be reaching Dawn Trail until next year. We might get it by Christmas, depending on how much I can grind up between now and then, and going through patch quests here. I will go ahead and say, at time of recording, we are 2/3 of the way done through Pandemonium.
Yes, we thankfully, because the Mogtome event is pushing Pandemonium raids, we've been able to get them a lot faster.
Yeah, so we will at least have some of it done. I'm doing my background classes in the meantime. It's just going to be a bit because of the way we streamline this. Getting into, I'm gonna have to make up all that back time right now. So
yeah, and that's partially my fault, but I really wanted to get you through Endwalker,
and it was quite worth it because the way that it opens up is actually fairly compelling because of where we ended off in Shadowbringer's patch quest line with the need to go ahead and research the end of days coming, what Fandaniel and Xenos are doing, and what exactly is the moon playing this time around.
Yeah, so we might as well go into the main scenario. So we start off because we finally have a ship to take us to Sharlayan so we can see what the heck is up with the Forum who refused to give us aid.
Right, and of course we do know that Fortunal Alphino and Alice's dad is on the Forum, and he is still pissed about whatever Louis Sois did back in the original 14. That led to the events of A Realm Reborn.
Yes, he is pissed off and he has disowned his children. Fuck you, Fortuno. I've adopted them.
At this point, I will go ahead and place a content warning because this is effectively you could have called Endwalker the cockening of Fortuno Levier, and you would not be incorrect. Because I swear, we go through the adventures here, and we almost brick by brick, basically ruined this man's life.
I mean, you are not wrong, but we'll get to that. First up, we are on a boat to Sharlayan, and I will tell you, the scene that happens while the camera zooms around and eventually pans into you, that is a shot-for-shot remake of the 1.0 introduction to a character arriving in Limsa. To a new character arriving in Limsa, which is a fantastic homage.
Especially if you play the Limsa character. I chose Ulda naturally, but I have done my side character I did choose Limsa for them, so I at least picked up on that as well.
Okay. Well, it's a 1.0.
Oh, 1.0, now 2.0. Okay.
Right.
Fair. Take that back.
Yeah, it's alright.
But we go ahead, we're on the ship, everyone's, rounding about, trying to kill time. And we get called up to the bow before everyone gets up, and we run into a mysterious figure.
Hear, feel, think. Oh, hi, Mommy.
Yeah, so Hydaelyn comes to us in her Ascian form. We no longer see her
as a giant crystal.
She's now reduced, for lack of a better word, to her Ascian form, and basically tells us that we are going to need everything we can to pull this off.
Pretty much. She says she has vague talks about a promise that's been kept in another time and another age. But we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah, it's still very vague, and she disappears as everyone starts coming up on deck to give us the grand view of Sharlayan. Specifically Old Sharlayan.
Old Sharlayan, which is one of my favorite locales, to be perfectly honest.
It is absolutely a fantastic locale, very Greek-inspired. It is absolutely phenomenal, aesthetic-wise. Perfect coastal city. It's basically if Costa del Sol was actually of relevance.
And I will tell you, I have listened to the night theme for Sharlayan on loop because it is such a relaxing theme. I have literally just idled in Sharlayan, just letting my character pose while I'm doing other things and just listening to the music and vibing.
Mm-hmm. It is a perfect vibe. But we immediately get exposed to Old Sharlayan's xenophobic tendencies.
Yeah, because we had to go through customs, and mostly it's without a hitch. The Archons, Y'shtola, Urianger, Thancred go in with no problems. G'raha is fine. It's when it comes to Estinian that he can't even figure out what to say.
Right. And bear in mind that Sharlayans, being a generally isolationist country, view physical trades with disgust.
Yeah.
Although you can introduce yourself as a mercenary by trade. If you do have other class, the healers and gatherers unlocked, you can introduce yourself as those, and they will look at you at least more favorably, but either way you're allowed in.
Yeah. Thankfully, Kryl manages to step in and manages to wave the pass for Estinian.
Right, but the Scions are warned that they are on visitor visa, and to remind it to keep us in check or else.
Yeah, even the customs lady even said to Alphino and Alize to mind your manners because there are rumors about everything, and I'm like, fucking hell, is this? I don't know what to say other than, is the gossip of the Levier family that prominent?
I would say in this case, no. I would imagine as soon as Fulshiner landed, he says, whatever you do, do not give my kids an easy time. Because he is that petty a bitch.
Yeah.
Alternatively, if we want to go with the gossip of the Levier house being the talk of the town, then everyone is talking about the cucking of Fortunate.
God damn it, every time you say that. Anyway, Kryl takes us to the Baldessian Annex, where that's basically going to be our home base in this expansion for a while. It's got a place to rest, it's got the meeting place, and from here we get the chance to do one of two things. Either stay in Sharlayan and do some research on the Forum and their machinations, or lend aid to Radzethan and Thavnair to help them because they're looking for a way to stop the tempering of the towers.
As a quick reminder, the Fan Daniel has been summoning towers all around Eorzea. which it causes tempering of all the nation's folk, which enables the summoning of primals.
Yes.
As a result of that, Rat's-at-Han is one of the nations that is plagued by that, as Old Sharlayan does not fear their tower.
Well, there's no tower
or no tower by them.
Yeah, there's no tower by them, so they aren't even humming or hawing, and so they're being prudes, so to speak.
Yeah, very prude-ish.
So I believe we started with going through Sharlayan because we had just got there. We wanted to see more of the place.
And so Kryl and Grahatia both go ahead and give the Warrior of Light a tour of the island. They go ahead and show off the forum, the studium, different areas of the
Numenon, the library.
The Numenon, all different areas. We get introduced to the studium and its various classrooms, as well as I think it's the where we do our gatherers.
Yeah, Crafters and Gatherers is in the studium, but that comes up a little later after we've talked with another character from the forum.
Okay, that comes right because I think we actually did it in reverse. I actually think we went to Rat's-at-Han first.
No, we actually did the studium.
Okay.
Yeah, because after we tried to gather information at, like, the Last Stand, which is the biggest restaurant, the only restaurant in Sharlayan.
Right.
Because good food and cuisine is anathema to anything Sharlayan.
Right.
But we go there, Alizé and the Warrior of Light have a cup of coffee, trying to talk about what are we going to do. No one's giving us anything.
Oh, yes. And then
we spot the gleaners, the gatherers for the forum, going into an entrance towards Labyrinthos,
which is basically a giant underground biome equivalent to what the what was in Pokemon Blueberry Academy.
Yeah, to quote Alizé, it's Sharlayan's living library, and basically, Alizé says, "Usually we don't see that many gleaners. Something's up. We should go down there and check."
And so, basically, we go down to Labyrinthos and start seeing that there's a massive packing and shipping collection process going on with a number of different gleaners going on. One of which is familiar if you have already seen Dawn Trail.
Yeah, if you've seen my Dawn Trail playthrough, you already know it's Erenvale, the bunny boy.
Who basically is exasperated with all the requests, and in an attempt to endear in his good graces, we offer to help him catch some of the more elusive samples that have escaped his capture.
We help him. He gives us a guide of where to go, basically, because, we help him multiple times, but like the second time we help him, he tells us of a cave that allows us to get to the lower ring.
Well, everything is being taken from this ring to the lower ring. The normal elevator that lets you go down there is being barred off for access only for Gleaners and the Forum exclusively. And then Erenville chimes in and says, by the way, if you still want to go down there, there's this old mine shaft that no one uses, and you can get there on your own means.
Right. And we go there. When we get there, we explore another little farm area. Kryl spots a weird set of flowers and suddenly locks in on them. And I should also mention, the second Kryl got down here, she started to feel a little lightheaded.
Yes.
And she doesn't say anything about it now. She's suddenly acting strange, locking in on these flowers. We'll come back to that later. For now, we look around and we see that Erenville has come down and he's on his way to talk to someone of the Forum.
Now, by this point, the rest of the Scions have joined up with us and are also wanting to go see what Erenville's planning, but naturally we can't just walk up on them.
And so Y'shtola turns us into toads.
Specifically, the Warrior of Light, Alphinaud, and Alizé are turned into toads.
Alpha Toad and Ally Toad, to be precise.
Yes. So those two, you have to stealth your way through violent enemies and make sure you don't get attacked in toad form, because if you get attacked in toad form, the glamour drops.
Yeah.
So you have to go ahead and Metal Gear Solid your way through the area, and then you get close enough to see Erenville interacting with two hooded forum members discussing the
momentous duty that has been placed on Sharlayan since several hundred years ago.
Correct. Which is very unusual for us, but is definitely a clue that we need to be homing in on.
Yeah.
And as soon as the 4 members walk away, Aaronville looks over at the 3 toads who are just staring back, and it says, "You are not normal toads."
He's basically saying, I hope that was informative. Because he knew right away. He says, don't try to fool an expert, because Aaronville's expertise is animal handling.
Yes,
so
he is a natural ranger and knows animals don't just stare at humans.
Yes. But yeah, we come back. We find out Kryl has wandered off somewhere, to which we find her still looking at the flowers.
To which eventually a random Rugadin comes over and says...
Oh, actually, that's when we first saw the flowers. That's when the Rugadin talked about them, calling them heart blooms.
Yes.
That react to people's emotions.
Yes.
It's in the second time we see the flowers that Kryl gives us one, magically preserves it, and say, she told you would need this.
And by she, we are obviously referring to Hydaelyn.
Because Kryl then offers her body as a temporary vessel for Hydaelyn a la Minfilia.
Okay. That's fun.
Yeah, and so Hydaelyn gives us another pep talk, tells us not to give in to despair, walk with the light, walk free, and you will surely find your way in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So again, being cryptic as usual, and she doesn't really stick for long because doing this puts a tax on Kryl.
Right. And thus, we go ahead, we finish here.
Well, we finish here because we get caught by Fortuno.
Well, not just by Fortuno. There was one person who was not in the group going down, as a certain cat boy decided to use his own magic to sneak into the Forbidden Archives, who got busted later and is now basically being held for crimes against the state.
Yes, which means and we are as well, so we are put in front of the forum, which
results in a public hearing in which, is it Y'shtola or Alice or Alphino that basically choose out the forum for basically...
It was Y'shtola, because G'raha adds his information that basically around 600 years ago or so, the forum stopped collecting knowledge for the sake of collecting knowledge, but instead for a greater purpose.
And started hoarding.
Yes.
And when their queries into that were reached out to, they were denied.
Yeah. Basically, Y'shtola says that was around the time that people in the Dravanian hinterlands started looking into the ethereal sea. Mm-hmm. And she says, you found something, and that gave you your mission. Mm-hmm. And when someone tries to talk about it, they are suddenly silenced. They can't talk about it for some reason.
Literally can't talk about it.
They are literally force choked into not talking.
Right.
Yeah. That was like Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay, I apparently know some Star Wars knowledge.
Yes.
Osmosis.
It's a very basic reference, but it checks out.
Yeah. Regardless, one of the members of the forum,
old professor of Alphino and Alice.
Yeah, and a friend of Galif and Louis Soir, basically comes in and says, we should put this to a vote and stuff. He tries to calm down the forum, to which it does calm down the forum in a sense, but we are still sentenced with not fucking around in Sharlayan anymore, or else we get kicked out.
We basically only have bare minimum public access. The status of students of Baldesian no longer applies for the Scions.
Yeah.
Which is how they were getting a lot of privilege in most places.
And with that, they dismiss the forum, and we talk outside the rostra for a moment before we are interrupted by a lovely lady indeed.
Yes, as the mother has been very concerned with the absence of her 2 children, and we are now introduced to the mother of the Levieurs.
Emiliance Leveilleur, who is a big ray of sunshine.
Oh, she is an absolute sweetheart compared to her husband, and she not only fawns over both her children, but also the Warrior of Light.
Yeah, because she's heard so many stories from the twins' letters.
And you've only decided to let me know now.
To which she invites us to the mansion.
While Fortuno is still having to do forward business. Yeah, I've seen this movie before about 500 times. I know where this is going. We can all skip to it now.
I fucked your wife, Fortuno!
Yep, that's pretty accurate. But no, in all seriousness, we go over to the Levier Mansion, which Fortuno previously expressed his "you are not allowed here" business, to which Emelian's is like, "Oh, don't worry, he won't know a thing."
Yes, to which she says to all her butlers, because of course the twins are fucking loaded.
Yeah, no, the family is loaded. Emelian's is apparently the head of household. I mean this both figuratively and literally.
Yeah,
and aside from she gives basically the strict instruction of no one says anything to my husband or else.
Yes,
to which they all graciously agree, and instructs the kids. By the way, dearies, you'll find your presents in your old rooms. Go and have a look-see.
To which both Alphino and Alize get their brand new wardrobe for the expansion, and Alphino gets a new job.
Well, he gets an old job because apparently the Charlians had fucking laser cannons of all things.
Yeah, laser medical cannons.
Yeah, this is the weirdest justification. Like, of all the Final Fantasy XIV nonsense to come out, I get it. They already burned books, staves, rods for basically all the other spellcasters. Red Mage is kind of the exception because they gave them rapiers at the very least. This is the weirdest justification for a fucking weapon for an old-ass class that never existed before.
It is kind of weird, but also Yoshi P is a Gundam nut.
Yeah,
he loves his Gundam bits.
This tracks, and so Alphino is given his father's old Nullus, which is what the weapons that a sage uses are called.
Yes, and then Mother Dearest gives the twins advice, basically saying, "Don't fight your father with words. You're not going to win in that way. Simply do your action, do what you need to do, and do it in a way that Fortuno can't fight what happens."
Right. Basically saying, do what you always do best in adventure.
Yeah. And
you also skipped over the entire time that while both of the children were in their own rooms, the Warrior of Light was left alone with Emelian's and actually wanted to know stories from the Warrior of Light.
To which, oh boy!
We indulge her with one of the various tales that we have, which leads to a Fade to Black.
Yes, and I'm wondering, how much did we tell her, and how much should we have told her?
I mean, depending on how much the kids have told her, I'm pretty sure the only thing left is the existential dread that we experienced fighting basically the god of the underworld.
I mean, fair enough, but anyway.
Also the feeling of literally being turned into a sin eater.
Yeah, we should probably leave that bit out.
Yeah, probably.
Regardless, the twins get their outfits, we say goodbye to Emelian's, we go back to the Baldessian Arsenal, and that pretty much ends that quest line.
Yes.
To which we now go to Thavnair.
Do we also... I'm trying to remember whether Tataru makes a small appearance at this point, or whether that's later. Because I know Tataru does eventually come over at some point to offer support and aid.
I think that's later.
That's later, okay.
That's later.
Okay, so, but yes, that's generally the arc for...
the first path. The first leg.
For Charlian.
The first of the split paths.
For the Charlian path, and then there's the Thavnair path.
To which we go with Urianger, Thancred, and Estinian.
All boys going to India. That sounds like it can never go wrong.
Well, it starts off on a rocky start because we need to find a way to get there.
No ships will actually want to go to Thavnair due to all the chaos that's going on over there.
Pretty much, but thankfully, the researchers at Charlian have developed a new means of ethereal transportation.
They can actually send someone to a aetheryte that they haven't been to before.
Yes, because the aetherites have been attuned to each other instead. And Estinian doesn't need this problem. He's already been to Thavnair, so he can warp there. Urianger, Thancred, and the Warrior of Light will have to go through the machine. We should also mention that this area where we go to is where Moonbreeda's parents used to work at.
Yes, and so Urianger nervously asked if whether or not the two individuals are there, to which they said, nope, they're busy working elsewhere. And there's almost a sigh of relief coming off his face when he hears that.
Yeah, to which it's revealed that he hasn't really talked to them since Moonbreeda died.
Right, and it's almost assumed that he wanted to I think he does say at one point he did want to tell them, but didn't have the right words for it.
He has sent a letter talking about it to them, but other than that, he's done jack all.
Right, and I think he still has quite a bit of PTSD from that.
Yeah. Regardless, we go ahead and we start using the ethereal teleporter. Oh, just a moment. You might feel a light touch of ethereal sickness on your way through.
Bye!
What?
And then everyone gets teleported, to which Warrior of Light, Urianger, and Thancred all experience random bouts of ethereal sickness.
To which we are feeling lightheaded and dizzy. Thancred is feeling lightheaded and dizzy. Urianger just fucking knocks dead.
Yes. And we have to go ahead and stumble our way to a shopkeep to go ahead and get some
lassi.
Some lassi, which is like
it's a yogurt drink.
A yogurt drink in order to ease our stomachs.
To which we have to stop Estinian from paying too much because there was a missive with Tataru. Don't let Estinian near the markets. He's alarmingly bad with coin.
Alarmingly so. Although he apparently has a taste for seafood.
Yes.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, he likes dried squid.
But we do find out that this is not your typical, we are racist and therefore hike our prices for foreigners. No. They actually have a legitimate price drought. Because of all the nonsense that's going on at sea, no one will do business with Thavnair anymore.
And they are an island nation that survives off of trade.
Which they normally would do between Ilsabard, Doma, and the rest of Eorzea, because they basically act as a middle point.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, they are raising prices just to survive. Which we find out when we try to help out a struggling fisherman hawk his wares in the port town that you landed.
Matsya, my favorite Arcasadara.
Gesundheit.
Yes, it's a mouthful. My favorite elephant man.
There we go. You could also... My favorite Ganesh. Because literally everyone... You say that and everyone will know what you're talking about.
Yes, but yeah, we help Matsya with a remarkably difficult mini-game to try to sell fish.
It's one of those things where if you are not experienced... If you have not traveled to Eastern / Pacific coastal regions and you're not familiar with the business culture there, you are not going to have any fucking clue how to go ahead and do it. It purposely is only there to make you feel like a fish out of water.
Yes, which is quite accurate, but we do help Matsya. He invites us over to his village to
learn of the local culture, because people have been abducted traveling between villages trying to do commerce, and that they have been fearing strange creatures that have been coming around. And since we know that what people are being abducted to summon
our gods,
summon primals, we want to know what the local gods look like.
So we go to Matsya's village, we talk to the villagers, he brings out a scroll, bringing us the Magus Sisters.
Well, they are the three goddesses.
The three goddesses, Cinderuva, Sandaruva, and Mindaruva.
Yes.
Cindy, Sandy, and Mindy.
Yep, those three are back once again.
Yeah, because I'm going to tell you right now, Endwalker is all Final Fantasy IV. And the Magus Sisters first showed up in 4.
Yep. So we go ahead and we find out that there is someone we can talk to about hopefully helping prepare. Because one of the problems that's been having is that only those who have the Echo are basically able to go ahead and go to the towers without fear of tempering. Everyone else is kind of fucked. And so apparently the alchemists of Thavnair have been working on a process to make an object that will go ahead and resist tempering.
To which he points us to Nidana, the person who actually called for help from the students of Baldessian. We go to the Great Work, and we find everyone passed out on the floor for some reason.
Yes, they have literally been working around the clock to the extent that they basically take giant communal naps outside the workshop while waiting for research results.
To which we get introduced to
Nidana and the Alchemists.
Nidana and the Alchemists, but also to Varshan,
who is he's a small aura boy, but he's basically the voice of the satrap, the Sultan.
Yes.
And he basically is in coordination with these alchemists to make sure they have dragon scales to do their research.
Yes, to which Estinian is going, where did you get those dragon scales?
And everyone is jumping Estinian like the fangirls that they are, because they smell dragon blood on him.
Yes. Thankfully, Varshan says they were given willingly by the dragon who lives on the island.
as he explains that the family line of satraps first made an accord with the dragon Vitra, who goes ahead and acts as basically guardian host.
Yes.
While the satrap, it basically rules the nation and does so with basically this auspice by his side.
It's a family of satraps. It's a biological rule. But
that's what we're told anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, we help Nidana because with a weird little pot thing that's supposed to give us ethereal sickness.
They basically are able to test for tempering by ethereal sickness, and basically want to take readings of the Warrior of Light to see how accurate their charms are going to be, if they're going to be as effective as a warrior with the Echo.
Yes. To which we help with a whole bunch of menial tasks. We help Nidana go to an area to gather herbs. We help Varshan go to a military base that is looking over the tower, which they have called Zot, which is another 4 reference.
Yep.
And we then go back, to which we find out that Van Daniel has been overlooking the experiments. And for some reason, his voice actor changed midway through the conversation.
Right, which is very odd.
So he doesn't no longer sound like Asahi, he sounds like someone else.
Right. But there is a reason for that, which we'll get to later. For now, things have coalesced to the point that eventually the prototypes are in a working state, and now it just needs to be examined. Now it just needs a field test.
Yeah. So Nidana offers herself to be the test subject and requests the Warrior of Light guide her to the Tower of Zot to see how well it works.
Right. So basically, the Warrior of Light and Nidana go to the Tower of Zot's entrance. Nidana feels no ill effects of tempering, and so as they're about to return with a success, door opens, Nidana gets grabbed and pulled into the tower, and everything goes to shit.
We chase after her, and then she gets put into one of the flesh walls.
Yeah, that's not agonizing horrible at all. I thought we left that behind in Shadow Walker. Shadowbringer, I will call Shadow Walker by accident. But Shadowbringer nonetheless, and then Fandaniel reappears to give us a lecture.
To which he reveals who he truly is, because he says that the memories of the original Fandaniel were never truly his, because he lived as himself before he was a member of the Ascians. A
reminder that Fandaniel is one of the sundered Ascians, whereas someone like Emet-Selch was unsundered.
Right.
And so, thus, Fandaniel only does actually have memories beforehand, who turns out to be Amon.
Once again, the Crystal Tower never stops being relevant.
And so, Amon basically explains what it was like having to work with the Alligans, and how seeing the horror and despair of how great and mighty the Allagan Empire once was, still fell to the machinations of being an empire.
Fell into decadence and decay, so he tried to bring back their first king, Emperor Zande, to which Emperor Zande went on a nihilistic binge.
And thus, everything, as we know, happens with the Crystal Tower.
And also affected Amon. Amon, in fact, used one of his clones in the Crystal Tower, so what we fought in the Crystal Tower wasn't the real Amon.
It was just a clone of Amon from back in his heyday.
Yeah. So Amon gives his backstory, his spiel, leaves laughing maniacally, as we are then forced to return to the great work to explain everything that had happened. And yeah, that happened.
Yeah, but it does lead us to go ahead and begin the Tower of Zot dungeon.
Not quite yet. First off, we get to have a meeting with the satrap himself because of our great work.
Yes, because they did hear about what we were able to do, so we are officially invited into Razathan proper.
We can't do much in Razathan, we just go straight to Megaduta, the palace.
Which we meet with the satrap, and the curtain is pulled pretty much right away.
Because Estinian smelt the dragon in the room.
And so, auspice is raised, Vitra reveals himself, and explains that he is the one actually ruling. The satrap is basically a puppet king.
Yes.
Who, in addition, Varshan is his aether-controlled puppet, allowing him to look through basically the peasant's eyes to be able to see how all the people are doing under the auspices of being a messenger for the king.
Yes, literally one of Vitra's eyes is basically inside a mammoth of sorts that he basically puppets around, which I found very fascinating.
It's also kind of disturbing.
It is kind of disturbing.
Do you remember fucking Presea? Pink-haired girl wields a giant-ass axe.
Oh, in Three Houses?
No. Tales games.
Oh, Tales. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember now.
Yes. Like, imagine how she has, like, the core crystal inside of her.
Yeah.
That, but with the fucking dragon eye.
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Like, that is horrifying to imagine, even though they don't show us. But he basically says that, yeah, I came to this land after me and my siblings went our own way, and I kind of fell in love with this place. So I've kind of made the arrangement with the Satrap's family to basically keep this. I will be in charge, but they get to be the ruler and whatnot.
Yes.
And so thus the arrangement has gone on for thousands of years.
Yes, and he even admits that he couldn't even bring himself to join in his brother Nidhogg's rage during the Dragon Song War.
Right. He basically wanted no part of that because he was so happy in India.
Yeah. I mean, I can't blame him.
Yeah, no, it's actually really nice when it's not apocalyptic.
Fair enough, because Rei'tan is one of the most colorful places.
Which you wouldn't know at the start, because not only did we suffer through rain for most of the time we were there, when it wasn't raining, it was apocalyptic.
Yes.
Which, yes, that it has the same weather condition as the end of days.
We will get to that when we get to that. We
but
talked to Vitra. He offers his help, and he basically asks us to deal with the Tower of Zod.
And basically offers us enough scales to mass produce the dragon that Nidana perfected. The warding scale that Nidana perfected.
Yes.
To which all the alchemists of the Great Work begin doing so we can lay siege to the Tower of Zod.
To which begins our first dungeon once we return to Sharlayan to tell the other party members. So we can bring them all back to Rei'tan to begin the first dungeon.
Which I think was actually done fairly well. The boss fight at the very... This dungeon is a little bit different because you do fight you fight two of the sisters individually.
Yes, you fight, I believe, Mindy first.
Yes.
And then you fight Sandy next, and then you do Cindy finally.
Cindy with the other...
With the other two.
With the other two. So it does follow the traditional mini-boss, final boss. It would have been funnier, even though I think it would have been kind of repetitive, to do three mini-bosses for this dungeon exclusively. Thematically funny, but I think that it's fine the way that they did it still, because boy howdy does this suck!
Oh yeah, the Delta attack in the final boss. You move. Yeah. I should mention that Leo has been playing a machinist for this expansion.
So I had no problems with this particular fight because I could always move and attack. If I was any other class, I would probably have more problems with this.
Oh yeah. I've tried the heal for this fight. It is a nightmare.
I will say, however, I don't think it would nearly be as bad as Lowminster Switch still.
No, it wouldn't, because each of the sisters has their own gimmick, and I find the first boss to be the most annoying, because they will set up towers that will send an energy ball to, which will have a specific element go off, and you have to watch the cast bar to make sure you know which one is triggering which.
Right.
And I glaze over that every time.
The sisters are simple enough that if you actually pay attention to them individually, it's fine. The problem is in the third fight, where they are layered on top of each other in just the right way that one slip of attention and you will get hit. And that's by design.
Yeah.
But if you know which sister to target, which order to fight the sisters in, it becomes infinitely easier.
In short, fight the one that has the biggest health bar, basically.
First.
Yes. Cindy.
Yeah, fight Cindy first, and then
take care of the other two because their health bars are drastically reduced.
Yeah, and then it doesn't matter which order you do them in. Just take on in an order that is more pleasing to you. Now, when we finish fighting off the sisters, we do find that this tower basically is. I'm trying to remember what the energy situation was. It overcompensated or undercompensated?
It overcompensated. Basically, it was drawing in more energy than it needed to sustain it.
Right, so where was the other energy going, which was the question that Y'shtola was wondering. However, we still power it off.
Yeah.
Shit's about to get fucked, because basically it's going to go into full collapse mode To which Graha is like, you know what? I haven't used this in a while. It's time to do a massive teleportation on everyone.
Yeah.
To which he teleports everyone out of the collapsing Tower of Zot.
Not just him, but every single elephant in the room.
Yes. Yeah, you can actually say that with this one.
Yeah, I will say that Yashola looks into the core of the tower to see what's powering it, and she sees a man's limb as the focus point for the tower.
Yes.
Which is very strange.
Well, it will make sense later, but we need to go ahead and evacuate Nidana and the rest of the captured folks of Thavnarian citizens are returned back to their homes
and detempered.
As we still have that process. Thank you, Deus Angelo.
Yes. The fucking pig. But yeah, we talk to Vitra once again, and he offers his thanks, and he is severely wounded from all the scales that he's basically taken off his body.
Right.
But he says it's all for the Scions to basically help stop this, because they literally get several boxes of warding scales as a gift.
To go ahead and redistribute to the Alliance.
Yes. What's more, Nidana shows up, now fully cured, to thank everyone, and a few things happen. First off, her joy is so elated, so powerful, from not only the scales working, but everything that they did was not for nothing, that the flower that we've been carrying starts to glow a bright color.
Right, and she begins to look at it and she asks, that's neat. I wonder if it has to do with anything with the Akasha.
Yeah.
Which causes some questions from the other Scions who have never heard of this energy form. And for briefly, Nidana, who's not an expert in the subject, basically describes Akasha as the feeling of emotional willpower, determination, if you would.
Yes. Spiritual emotion given power.
Right.
She talks about how there are times where you've pushed yourself beyond your limits, which is basically... I know some people argue against this, but I think it's even though you use ether for limit breaks, I think the actual trigger for it is Akasha.
Akasha, at least initially, is how we're presented it. Yes.
We're building up ether in our body, but it's Akasha that serves as a trigger for all that ether.
Right. And so Nidana goes in and expresses that she and the Great Work Alchemist are going to continue doing what they do. She wishes all the best as we go ahead and deliver the warding scales to the Alliance, because we have word about we are going to attempt something that has never been done before.
And invade Garlemald.
Themselves.
Because the big tower, the main tower, is hosted in Garlemald. And while we could spend time dealing with the smaller towers, we decide to just nip this in the fucking bud.
We also know that, in comparison, the other tower, at this point, the towers are only able to put out minor primal threats to the extent that a couple of detachments of Alliance soldiers are able to actually handle the situation, now equipped with warding scales.
Well, the thing is, they can fight the primals themselves, because the primals are not tempering anyone.
They're not tempering anyone, and therefore their own power is limited.
Yes.
They basically are restricted to whatever captives are in the individual towers.
Yes. But basically, we start to talk to the Alliance to basically build a contingent. The Ilsabard contingent to go and invade Garlemald.
Which everyone meets at Alamigo to go ahead and discuss it, and it brings a lot of characters from every single expansion you've already been to before.
Including characters from job quests that you've done.
I believe that they bring, at least from... they bring one of the monk girls from the Brawler quest line. They bring a couple of the siblings from the Black Mage quest line.
They bring in Stephanian from the Machinist quest line. They bring in the Lalafell from the Scholars quest line. Mm-hmm. It's just a lot.
They bring in Sickard from...
they bring in Sickard, and they bring in Amonalane,
who... Those two just, look, Amonalane, I know that you raised in a conservative household, but I guarantee you will feel a lot better once you bottom to this bad boy. I swear, you just need to go ahead and take the plunge. You can go talk to Fortunal if you don't believe me. Bottoming isn't as bad as you think.
Just channel your inner your inner Horsefant. Was that in bad taste?
I feel like a little in bad taste.
I mean, Horsefant is gay for the Warrior of Light, regardless of the gender.
I mean, so is freaking Graha.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it this way: if Horsefant survived, he would be acting president, and then Alice and Graha wouldn't be able to argue with each other.
I mean, fair enough.
Lise is also part of the detachment, as is Lydia, who is, in case you forgot, Emmerich's right hand.
Yeah, Emmerich's right hand and a former Garlean spy.
Who was also sister of Lucia, who was the one who was saddling up to Van Baelsar.
Oh, wait, no. Livia is the one from Baelsar. This is Lucia.
Lucia, yeah, but she's sisters.
They're sisters, yes.
Yes, so...
And then we also bring in people from Dalmasca, Boja, and Doma. Because we bring in Little Sun,
yes.
and Sadu.
Yes, Sadu and
Cyrena.
And Cyrena also come along for the ride. Everyone is here, and you are literally seeing them all interact with each other. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But basically, we hand out warning scales to everyone, basically letting them know this is to resent this tempering. Make sure you don't lose it. We will be going into hostile territory. This is when, after the meeting,
we get our first instance.
Tataru shows up and says, "Pack sweaters because it is Siberian cold levels up there."
To which she gives us a new outfit,
which is
a nice warm coat,
which is our nice warm coat. Although I now need to go ahead and do Boja because I found out Thancred's gear is Boja gear.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I need to go ahead and do that in my spare time. But the first instance begins as an initial plan to go ahead and enter the country is cooked up, as Thancred needs to go ahead and disable a nearby military camp to make sure that
everything goes smoothly.
And it's at this point we start finding out that even the Garleans themselves have been tempered.
Yeah, because we're seeing people who are warring in different legions during the Civil War are fighting together.
Right, after what should have been a self-consuming civil war, now they are seemingly unified all under one purpose, though not necessarily with their own minds.
Right. So we have the "This is Thancred" moment as we go through and disarm a camp.
This is very different from the other stealth sections which you had, because you do actually have to fight, or you can fight, but it's not encouraged. You are basically trying to sneak attack, knock out, and disable as many foes as you can without being spotted, as raising an alarm meter can cause a fail state.
Yeah. So once that's taken care of, we have everyone else going through, and we are in the back protecting a whole bunch of airships. And we get to see a lot of the job characters help us to beat back the Machina and the soldiers.
Right. So we deal with the Garlean ambush, make sure the caravan is secured, as we come across what is eventually referred to as Camp Broken Glass.
Yes, we enter Garlemald proper, and it is just as depressing as you thought it would be.
Well, they basically have gone through a civil war, so
the main city is nothing but ash.
Right, because of all the infighting. To the extent that the few people that are here are basically probably worse off than even people in the first were, when they were on the verge of being consumed by the flood. We do come across a few random Garlean citizens who basically have holed up in a old mansion. Two of them are sisters, one of whom is sickly. The other two are basically stragglers who their sole comfort is listening to apparently radio broadcasts that still seem to be transmitted from Garlemald proper.
It still plays the song of Garlemald pretty much, and they swear that they've heard the voice of Emperor Varus on the radio.
Right. And so what we found out is that part of the reason things have fallen in decline is that during the fighting, the various slaves that were employed, quote, air quotes, to tend to the cerulean fields, basically fucked off.
Yeah, they fucked up. They're actually running the cerulean plants
But
now.
for themselves.
But for themselves.
Which doesn't help because they also can't really fight. And so they kind of are forced into a situation where initially we're thinking we'll trade fuel for between the Garlean citizens and these workers.
But the Garleans are racist assholes.
And not only attempt to attack Alpha and Analyse because we try to help them once again, would rather freeze and succumb to wilderness exposure rather than accept help from outsiders.
Yeah, so the two sisters we mentioned before literally flee because basically they ambush Alphino, knock him out.
Right.
And they try to escape, and they end up getting attacked by wild animals, to which Alphino and Alze start to wonder if they should even be here.
Right, and the Alliance sort of knew that they would be facing hostile behaviors from Garlemald, but they didn't expect it to be this bad.
Yeah. I should also mention that for some reason, the people who have been around the radio have not been tempered. When we bring the radio back to Camp Broken Glass, Y'shtola can see with her special eyes that for some reason the ore and the machinations through the radio seem to give off an anti-tempering wave for some reason. It's similar to that of the warding scale, which is fucking bullshit, I should mention.
Yeah, it kind of is, but it might be something that was not intended. It also, they also used it to explain why there was this sudden mass conversion of folks, because basically people started hearing Emperor Varus, and that's why they started unifying.
Yeah, basically a roar from the new tower just spread out, and everyone just got corrupted.
Yeah. And so, basically, we go ahead and have to we're trying to reach out and talk to, we need to go ahead and find a new lead, which leads us to the detachment of soldiers.
Yes. We get introduced to a soldier who tried to steal from Camp Broken Glass by the name of Eulis.
Eulis. And good old Eulis is, of course, still very much racist, still very much diehard for Garlemald, but agrees to go ahead and take the Warrior of Light and the Levieurs to go ahead and negotiate with their Legion units.
Yes.
To which we go along the monorail lines or the train lines that are falling in disrepair, even as they try to go ahead and keep them in service. We go into their subway system and basically see, yeah, this will look familiar if you remember going through any of the starting towns in Shadowbringer.
Yeah, pretty much. There's just a little hovel.
It's a little hovel. Everyone's dying, depressed, or in doom.
Yeah, they're basically cold, freezing. They have no heat. They barely have food. And we end up meeting with the leader, Quintus Van Kina, Legatus of the First Legion.
Yes, and he's a piece of work.
Where do we start with this fucker?
So, he's basically what I would say what you would expect from a commander of a legion, given that we've already met Van Baelsar, we've already met the fucker from the weapons trials.
Yeah, Valens.
Valens, he is as devoted and as despicable as they come, because not only does he basically say, fuck off, we will die by our own hands, but he then has the gall to take Alphino and Alice into his protective custody.
And put shock collars on them.
To prevent them from using their ether.
I do like the point where one of the guards tries to put a shock collar on the Warrior of Light, and he says, don't bother with that. Something like that would barely tickle the Warrior of Light, and everyone loses their shit when they realize who it is.
Yes, because they realize, again, we've kicked Van Baelsar's ass. We've kicked Valen's asses. We've kicked the Emperor's ass.
We've kicked Xenos' ass.
And so, and basically, even the Quintus realizes, the only reason I'm putting these two little shits in collars is because I know hurting them is going to hurt you a lot more than me trying to hurt you outright.
Yeah.
To which I kind of have to admit the man's got a point there. I'm not going to be a worse father than Fortuna.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it is funny to think that little shock collar would tickle the Warrior of Light, given that they took a fucking lightning bolt from Solution 9.
Lightning bolt from Solution 9, lightning bolt from the God of Lightning, both gods.
Yeah.
And all the other shit that we've basically endured throughout the trials. That is a very good point, game.
I am pretty sure our Warrior of Light is damn near indestructible in some ways.
To quote Thornton, what are you?
The soul of a Zem, buddy.
We're not there yet. Actually, yes, we are, but we will elaborate more on that later. So, nonetheless, we are still allowed to at least help Eunice go ahead and gather some ceruleum, which is at least rumored to be in old areas of Garlemald. We go to an old park and explore the area and find out that as much of a dickhole Garlemald used to be, their planning and social structure was actually fairly advanced. They had public parks, they had social systems to make sure that people relied on each other. It was for themselves, they treated themselves very well. Yeah. It just so happened they thought everyone else could go eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah.
Because they worshipped primals.
Yes. Savages, so to speak.
Which is something that even as Euless knows is kind of not true, he struggles to fight against his own programming.
Yeah. But we managed to find a little bit of ceruleum. We take it back to the camp, and they immediately siphon that ceruleum to power the war machines instead of heating up the camp.
Right. Again, Quintus being pragmatist first. We're also told by Euless, because, again, they're keeping the twins in custody. What is the message that we're asked to pass on? It's military code for basically get ready for war.
Something ilm.
Yes.
I don't remember what the actual phrase, but basically it's Garlean speak for we go to war now.
Yeah, it's basically we are making our last stand, which is why we immediately leave to go and tell the Alliance that, hey, we have some problem with these assholes.
So we take him back. Thancred, however, has been near us this whole time, invisible, keeping an eye on the twins.
And knows that basically shit is fucked, and it was already working on counterplay even before we were making our way out.
We do get a nice little scene with the twins while they're holed up, as they basically kind of reconcile their own flaws and issues.
They basically are concerned about each of their individual flaws. Alphino's lack of being anything other than a speaker, and Alice's headstrong nature, and both of them find solace in one another and basically hype each other up for, you. I am glad that you're you and that you're not like me.
Yeah.
And that gets them through the toughness of having to swallow being held captive until
Estinian breaks in and saves them.
Yeah, Thancred was kind of expecting this and basically already had counterplay involved, as they know that they were going to get swarmed at some point and basically anticipated shit going down.
To which, when we get back to the camp, basically Euless and everyone tries to charge in on Camp Broken Glass, which they immediately get stopped by the freaking red-haired kid from Gridania.
Yep.
Alrune, I believe is
Yes, Alrune.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I've done the White Mage questline. He's a little prick.
He is a little prick in the few interactions he shows up in, random ARR questlines, because they like giving Gridanians a lot more side quests.
Yeah.
He shows up as, one of the main interaction points when you're doing the Moogle Post questline.
Ah.
So I know he can be kind of a spoiled brat, but he actually holds his own quite well here.
Yeah. And then Livia... It is Livia, right?
Yes, Livia basically
says...
No, Lucia.
Lucia
basically goes up to Euless and basically says, look, buddy, we have you outnumbered and outgunned.
And also we have words from the other contingents
that they're basically surrendering of their own will.
I remember this phrase, have the Ilm stand down.
Oh, yes. And basically that was the counter word of, oh shit, we're actually done for real for this time.
We're actually fucked completely.
So,
to which the soldiers step down. We try to rush over to Quintus to try to patch things over, and then the most fucked up scene for a while comes in place.
Yeah, in which Julius basically knows he's fucked.
Well, not Julius, Quintus.
Quintus knows he's fucked, and realizing that not only was the desperate charge basically just to satisfy his soldiers' egos, being a captain in charge knows that he has basically failed at a fundamental level, takes his own gunbreaker and goes ahead and unalives himself.
Yes. To which we should mention that in his room there was the flag of the Garlean symbol,
and we've never actually been explained why that symbol is designed that way.
It is a chain link. It is the red symbol in the middle, the blood of their fallen, and the links that ties them together.
The great chain, if you would, if I want to go ahead and go full ham-fisted on the Russia analogy.
Yes. To which we see him take his revolver, pull it up to his head,
and unalive himself.
We don't even see it. It smash cuts to Alize saying, "Hurry up! We should get there quickly as possible."
And then we see the blood stain on the Garlean banner,
which basically signifies, yes, this is the end of the Garlean Empire. Holy shit!
Yeah, that is a hell of a power move.
Not only that, but he literally told his soldiers that they are relieved from duty, so they no longer have any orders to give.
Right. Again, just the nonsense that they do, setting this up. And so we go through the process of basically integrating the First Legion remnants into protective custody, for lack of a better term, within the Alliance, within the Ilsabard contingent, getting people fed. We see Sickard and Emet-Selch try and lift up Ulysses' spirits because he's basically had everything he's stomped on and tossed aside, and he's literally wondering, what the fuck do I do now?
He is then given soup by a former Garlean conscript from Alamigo, and basically everyone says,
let's eat,
let's rest, let's recover,
and we will find our way in the coming days.
To which Ulysses breaks down crying, and then Maxima and Lucia are kind of speaking poetic about this, seeing
coming home. This is not how they imagined coming home.
It's not how they imagined coming home, and it's not how they imagined things would go, but there's a melancholy hopefulness to it.
And then my least favorite section of this entire expansion.
Well,
I need to go ahead and get this rant out of the way, because this has honestly been eating me up since I completed this section. So, the part that's about to happen is probably designed this way intentionally, but it is still what I would consider the one black dot on Endwalker's record.
Okay.
I would say this is the only thing, if I had to give it a rating, this is the only reason it's not 10 out of 10. And it's probably because I'm a little bit dense. I may have been playing a little conservatively, but I think that this is the one black mark that Endwalker has, and I will hold it against it for the rest of my days.
I will say I was not a very good friend in trying to guide you through it, because I was basically crashing out while trying to help you.
So,
but first off, the tower suddenly roars to life. Everyone is protected except for Ulysses and the other Garleans, which everyone's panicking to try to save them from being tempered.
As basically we see what the broadcast is doing, this is basically how they've been tempered.
Yeah. Which then, when we try to charge in, Fandaniel shows up dressed as a soldier.
And says, "Hey buddy, I'm going to need you to come with me for a second. You're wanted elsewhere."
Yoink!
Teleports us all the way into the Garlean castle proper, where we realize we are not in our own body.
We are not in our own body because remember that weird soul fight in Alamigo where you got stripped out of your body and you had to run back to it?
The one with the weird scientist guy, the one that was in charge of the
same technology.
Yeah, he perfected that, and basically Fandaniel uses it to fuck with you, quite literally.
Put you in the body of a Garlean soldier, possibly even the same Garlean soldier that Xenos was in.
Which, Xenos basically invites you to dinner.
Yes, it is literally a dinner party. Fandaniel is dressed up as a fucking butler, the fucking numpty.
You can tell that his Amon days are not behind him. He desperately is the understudy to Emet-Selch. He desperately wants to wish he was Emet-Selch.
He is such a theater boy. I love and hate him at the same time.
Yes, it also doesn't help that he still has Asahi's stupid grin.
Oh yeah, he has that same punchable face, so it makes it even worse.
Mm-hmm.
But
But basically Xenos is like, look, you're having so much fun with your friends. It would be a shame if
something
happened to them. So not only does he basically imply that he's going to go after your friends, he's going to do it in your body.
Yes, I should also mention, before that happens, we hear the roar of the primal that's been causing all the tempering, to which we find out it is Anima, the actual Anima from Final Fantasy X, brought forth through prayer and basically raw political zealotry of the Garleans.
Yes.
Basically, even though the rule of Garleans was not to worship primals, they still worship their emperor.
Which is why they've been hearing the voice of Emperor Galvus.
Emperor Varus.
Emperor Varus throughout all the radios, and what the purpose of that has been for.
Yes, and basically all the towers around the world
are going to this.
Because they're all made out of different parts of Varus's body, which is fucked up.
Well, Xenos wasn't exactly eye to eye with his old man, and I bet you as soon as Fandaniel told him, "I have a better way we can use his corpse other than mulch," and he was immediately intrigued.
Yeah, but anyway, Xenos hijacks our body, does an evil smirk, and teleports out. To which
Fandaniel says, "No, we're not going to let you off so easily. We're going to make this a game," and he drops us into Garlemald, in the middle of the burning Garlemald thing, and basically says, "You have 25 minutes to go ahead and get to your friends before Xenos does. Have fun."
So, which begins the Out from the Cold quest line, and you have mentioned this is awful. The whole point of this is that you are stuck in a simple Garlean soldier's body, a body that is despite having super strength, has none of the warrior light's skills or strength. You have to use med kits and basically have to stealth around everything to avoid getting hurt.
You do the game doesn't guide you along this way, but effectively what you have to do is repair a standing Magitech Reaper to be able to clear through a swath of enemies to try and get out of the city proper. Once you eventually hit a point where you start meeting Garlean citizens who assist you, because again you are in the guise of a Garlean soldier, and so they still help rally against you against all the monsters, possessed citizens, and try to get your way out of there. Eventually you get attacked by an explosive monster, and despite everything going on, you manage to survive.
You do the microwave oven crawl from Metal Gear Solid 4.
All the way back to where Xenos is, and you get the worst shock of your life as you see everyone's barely calming down from suppressing the tempering of the First Legion. Kryl goes over and sees...
Not Kryl.
Is it?
It is Alice and Graha.
Alice and Graha see you coming up the way as everyone's worried about what happened to you. And then Y'shtola immediately realizes, oh, we're fucked.
There's something going on. I can't see quite properly what's going on. Because she cannot see what's going on with the Warrior Light properly. He looks fucked up to her.
Well, again, she knows that he's gone through etheric wibbly-wobbly nonsense before. This time she definitely knows something is wrong.
Yes. To which our Warrior of Light body summons Xenos' Reaper avatar to try to attack, and we
toss our gunblade just in time to deflect it.
And then body tackle ourselves.
To which gives everyone a fright, and immediately Y'shtola looks over and says, "Oh, there he is, you son of a bitch!" And the game being up, Xenos is like, "Well, this has been fun."
Yeah, I didn't get to do anything, but I hope I've inspired you to come after me with everything you've got.
And then he apparently knows how to separate his own body.
Oh yeah, that's because he's an Ascian in all but name.
So he basically unpossesses our body in fair agreement of the game. Lets us get transferred back with, I think, Kryl's help.
We just get back on our own.
Okay, we basically...
Kryl's not here for the record.
Oh, right, because
Kryl does show up later for some reason.
Right, Kryl shows up later, but no, she's still technically... I think she stays with the Annex originally, because she's trying to keep things cool, because remember, we are on high security watch from the forum.
Yes.
So she stays behind to keep everything cool. But
we
eventually jump back into our own body, and everything's sort of leveled out.
Yeah. To which, now that we know what's going on, what we have to fight in the tower, we start rallying everyone up to enter the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, we're going biblical on this one.
Well, that's another 4 reference.
Also 4 reference, but this time we are actually hijacking a subway system alongside the outskirts of the capital city in order to sneak into the Tower of Babel.
To which we find a couple of interesting bosses that are also 4 references. Barnabas and Lugay.
Yep.
Which, have you ever fought those bosses?
I have not, but I've heard of them.
Yeah, basically, if you fight Barnabas in one way or Lugay in another way, you get a different fight outcome, but then you have to refight Lugay as a weird, twisted monster, which is what we see.
Yeah.
So, those 2 fights are okay.
Yeah. It's not really... That's not really the reason we're here, and even the boss fight of Zod isn't all that impressive. What's impressive is when you have to go ahead and fight Anima.
People were surprised that wasn't a trial.
Yeah, no, but there's a reason for that. There's a very good reason for that. So you fight Anima as the boss of the Tower of Babel dungeon.
And it is a fun fight.
And that's when Fandaniel reveals that this is also a ruse at the end of it, because what they actually want to do is blow up the moon!
Specifically, they want to break the seal on the moon that is currently housing Zodiark. Because Heidelin has mentioned before, Zodiark was sealed away, a moon bound.
And as every conjoining has occurred, those bonds have severely been weakened. And thus, Fandaniel believes that they are weak enough that by doing the schism with the towers, they're able to basically blow it up in one shot.
They weren't able to. One brand that was holding Zodiark's body at bay was still able to survive the onslaught. To which they say, we must travel to the moon!
And break it ourselves.
Yes. Which I'm asking, why didn't you do that from the beginning? Probably there was reasons.
I suspect that the reason they were doing it this way is because they were trying, again, if they could conjoin all the planets, they would naturally get Zodiark back anyway, and conjoining the planets gives them a power boost as much as it does.
Well, they weren't planet anything. There was no what they were doing with the towers was siphoning the ether from the planet.
No. The original plan was to rejoin everything to the source.
Yeah, and then
that was the original plan, and that would have solved the moon problem for them. Because they realized that didn't work, because remember, the Sundered and the Unsundered Ascians had 2 different thoughts. The Unsundered Ascians wanted to rejoin everything so they could get their world back. The Sundered ones gave no fucks.
Yeah.
And so, because they would never become rejoined. And so, that's why the initial plan because they were basically subservient because they were weaker.
Yeah. So they would eventually become whole again.
Right, but, they still had to go ahead and put up with Emet-Selch and everything. So, Fandaniel being on his full
theatrics
and his full nihilism arc said, fuck it, we're doing it my way now, and that's why we're blowing up the moon.
Yes.
However, Trial shows up, now once again possessed by Heidelin, manages to go ahead and disrupt that plan and tells us, you need to go after him, go to the moon, and stop him from freeing Zodiark.
To which, also, there was one little hiccup with everything. No one else can come to the moon with us because Anima basically had a kill switch implanted in all the tempered people.
Yeah, which basically everyone has to go back to try and save them, and thus we're sent to the moon on our own alone initially.
To which we fly to the moon and land in Mare Lamentorum.
Yep, because apparently there's also a moon base here.
Yes, there is a moon base. In fact, we actually see a giant castle overlooking the brand of Zodiark.
And see or meet
the Watcher.
A very familiar Watcher.
Well, he looks familiar. He looks like one of the ancients.
Well, yes.
He is based... I'm going to say this right now. He is based on a friend of Anas.
Yes.
But it's not Azam. It's not anyone we know.
Okay.
But we meet the Watcher. He who has watched over Zodiark since time immemorial.
Okay.
And he warns us to basically, because of the attack, spirits from Zodiark's body are seeping out and causing commotion,
Yes.
preventing the brands from being sealed properly.
Yes.
So we go out and help everyone, and then, while we are helping them, we get introduced to a weird golden dog.
Yep. We get introduced to
Argos. Yes. Who leads us to the next brand. And as we are doing that, we keep getting harassed by more and more spirits.
These are all spirits that have basically had rage and regret, all the negative emotions that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
From the darkness.
Yeah, it's all the souls that were used to make Zodiark.
And all of their pent-up regrets and anger at wanting to be rejoined but not ever being able to.
It is then that we meet a new old friend.
Yep. Hythlodaeus.
Hythlodaeus shows up and basically talks to us. Well, technically, this is the first time we've met the real Hythlodaeus.
Right. The Hythlodaeus we met in the first is, again, a shard.
It's not a shard, it's a simulacra.
Oh, a simulacra of Hythlodaeus, that's right. But we explain sort of how we know Hythlodaeus, and he in turn explains what's going on here.
Yes. And as we're talking with him, he tries to reassure us, and he says that I will stop the spirits from barring your path as soon as one of the towers that had gotten repaired gets blown up.
And at which Fandaniel is joyfully gleeing because this was his true plan all along. Well, how many layers deep of this plan are we in? Like 5 now?
Well, basically what happens is we go over there, and Xenos breaks the final brand. There were 2 brands. There was one brand that was not destroyed, a second brand that got recovered. Now both brands are destroyed. Zodiark is free. Xenos tries to tease us with a normal fight, where we try to fight him, and then Fandaniel goes, what if we did something more fun?
And he goes ahead and decides to integrate himself
into Zodiark.
And that's the reason why Anima isn't a trial.
Because Zodiark is the level 83 boss!
Well, that was unexpected. And
no one was expecting Zodiark to be the 83 trial.
And Xenos is kind of pissed because he got overshadowed by a god and is promptly told to fuck off.
Yeah, so why don't we talk about the boss fight for a moment?
This one probably more is probably so damn fitting.
Yeah.
It is an absolute incredible fight to undergo, and it is impressive just in its scope. We've done it, I think, twice.
Yeah. The first time we did it, you were healing, which I'm surprised you managed to get through the multi-stack attack.
Yeah, well, I'm a regen healer. I'm not too worried about that. The second time was more fun because I think I was DPS that one. But no, that boss fight absolutely feels like it lives up to the hype. It's kind of concerning because it's level 83 and I have to do the squint of game. What are you planning?
What are you planning?
And so you go through the fight. Fandaniel does fully integrate himself into Zodiark.
Yeah. And
so he does get more powerful, but I really think he doesn't have too many bad attacks. The weirdest one is probably the one where he literally rotates the stage from underneath you, and then multiple AoE lines go off.
Yeah. Lines show up. You have to be in a certain spot when everything turns, otherwise you're going to get hit.
Right, because it's going to fire once you rotate.
Yes.
And so you have to position yourself accounting for that, depending on the direction.
It's a bit of a topsy-turvy one. The one that fucks me up is the star pattern that he does in the sky. You have to see where the stars are aligning, and you gotta look all around, and I'm like, oh god, I don't like moving the camera this much.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. And so you do manage to overcome Zodiark, under which case the final layer of Fandaniel's master plot comes. So, recall back to fucking Shadowbringers, where we learned that the entire reason the chaos occurred in the first is because there was an overabundance of light ether.
No, it was not that. The thing that happened was the final days just suddenly happened on the Earth. It just...
No, I'm talking about with the first.
Okay, the first.
So, remember that the whole reason the flood occurs is because it's an overwhelming amount of light ether. Yes? And that we basically learn as a broad general statement, Rei'tan Light and dark ether need to be balanced within the planets.
Light is stasis and stagnation. Darkness is activity and growth.
Right.
Zodiark was created to stimulate the planet's ether because it was rotting and decaying.
Right. And overstimulation would cause chaos, which is why Hydaelyn comes in to act as stasis and balance things out. You need to have both in order for things to work.
Right.
Which means, what happens when you kill Zodiark, who's been imprisoned, and is basically the only source of creation in this entire planet?
Basically, the seal that was preventing the final days from happening is broken and lifted. Fandaniel basically kills Zodiark by killing himself.
And basically guarantees that that the same demise that fell the ancients will once again fall to the source.
Which means he kills himself, and we get a fucking long-ass monologue from him as he soliloquies his death.
Yes. Theater kid.
Fucking theater kid.
So, great, we killed the boss that we were intending to. Why do I feel worse?
Because we suddenly get hit with a fucking vision of the world rotting and crumbling to a core.
Right. Because final days and all that jazz.
We also hear a strange voice, which a lot of people originally thought it was Hydaelyn.
Right, but it's not.
No, it's not. I was nipping that in the bud right away. I didn't want you to get any weird conspiracy theories floating.
No. But we do get told, like, oh, so the contingency finally did happen, is what we're eventually told. Because apparently Hydaelyn did foresee this at some point.
She did.
And therefore prepared a contingency plan.
To which comes in the Loporrits.
So, we are told that, basically, in the event that the final days would come back to the source, we were given basically we were given two options. Basically, flee from the planet to
another star,
or well, they were trying to initially flee from the planet to the moon, but then also because the moon could only handle so much, it would be a spaceship. The next contingent, it would be a spaceship to take us to other stars.
Yes,
and thus the Loporrits are engineered by Hydaelyn to basically assist in this process.
And they are cute little bun-buns.
They are more reminiscent to, I guess, if you're familiar with Tactics Advanced Moogles, which have more humanoid appearances, the Loporrits will look strangely similar to them.
They are actually based off of Naming Way from Final Fantasy IV, which I don't remember if that was originally in 4, or if that was something that came in later.
I think that was original.
Because there are Loporrits, there are Naming Ways on the moon in 4.
And so some of the other Scions are eventually allowed to come up to the moon, and we begin to go ahead. We are told to seek out these Loporrits, to which we meet
Living Way,
and the various Loporrits of the moon, who are British as fuck,
and sassy little fuckers.
They are passive-aggressively sassy. Again, Hydaelyn engineered them to be basically God's little helpers, and they are undeniably programmed in that way. They cannot... One, they do not take criticism well. Two, they are annoyingly industrious. And 3, they can be a little socially inept.
Yeah, because at first they think we are children because they are used to the Watcher and what the
ancients look like.
Yes.
And so there's this, and so the first thing that Living Way realizes is, oh shit, the living quarters are way oversized. I need everything scaled down now.
That goes back to us in a post Endwalker dungeon.
We also see that the Loporrits have no sense of fashion. And all they can make is carrots. Granted, they make all sorts of flavors of carrots, which is quite concerning, but they do make carrots.
Yeah, and also their forest is basically made of glass.
They saw artistic designs of trees, but didn't know what they were made out of.
Oh, bless these things' hearts, but god damn it, they are inept.
And they are paranoid, too, because although they take kindly to the Scions who come aboard, which are, I believe, it's just Y'shtola, Thancred, and Urianger.
Yes.
They connect mostly with Urianger, who his own tism seems to be vibing with theirs.
Tism.
Yes! How would you describe it?
I mean, fair enough.
But nonetheless, they ask Urianger specifically for a private moment, while everyone goes around exploring the ship and begins to feel like they're being given the runaround.
Yeah, and to which the Loperists kind of want Urianger to kind of speak to their collaborators back on Earth. Because, yes, they have collaborators back on Earth.
But
guess who?
Yeah, so the lines start to becoming clear, to which we are tasked... Well, first, we actually have to fight the little buggers, because they basically want their plans to go undisturbed, because they are, like I said, they are stubbornly proud of what they do, and they're kind of afraid of failure. And so they, in their good attempt to, like, try and appease us, they try to force us to stop interacting with Urianger. So we have to actually fight our way through these little bunnies to get our way out of the ship and then track down Urianger, who says, look, I know that they're kind of strange, but believe me, I think I can talk to them. Because all the Loperists believe is that basically fighting the end of days is worthless.
Yeah.
They were specifically programmed to try and get everyone to escape, and that is what their intention is to do.
Yeah. They ask Urianger for their help because he has a penchant for secrecy, which he actually admits
he's kind of sick of.
He's kind of sick of it, to which he asks us to help him make ink that we give to Livingway to help fill up a book with more data and information about the world.
And basically, he helps connect to the Loperists that what they've done is fine, but they have only based it on old information. That they would get more information if they journeyed to Aetheris, which, by the way, this is the first time we actually have been told the name of the planet.
Before, everyone called the planet Hydaelyn, but we now know that in the ancient world, it was called Aetheris.
So he basically is trying to convince the Loperists to come and see the planet as is, so that they can better understand how to accommodate the people living there should they eventually have need to flee, although it's not entirely decided that yet.
Yeah. So, there's that. So, Urianger stays on the moon. We go back to the Earth, to Aetheris.
One thing before we leave the Loperit tangent. All the Loperists are all named in variations of Ingwe.
Yeah.
So, Naming Way, Living Way,
Mapping Way,
Growing Way,
Growing Way.
I believe
Fucking Way.
I believe Fucking Way was the one that we joked about. And this one is not a joke, but Pudding Way.
Yes. Seriously, speech 100 on Urianger for finding a way to make their name relevant.
So, and he really does try, and every Loperit is, in fact, designed purposely for a specific task, even if their name isn't entirely given to it. You will see why when we have a pilot named Napping Way at some point.
Sleeping
Way in the future. So, not entirely, but he does give Pudding Way the onerous task of learning what pudding is.
Yes.
Which, considering that those rabbits are British, I feel sorry for poor Pudding Way.
I believe that there's a side quest with him back on Sharlayan that you could help him with.
Good, because that bunny needs help.
Yes.
So yes, we do go back after our moon expedition to go talk to the Forum, because we know your secrets, old man.
Yes, but thankfully, we don't have to expose their secrets. They expose it themselves.
They basically say, people, the time has come for the grand migration. Which, the more I hear about it from a racist bunch of guys in white cloaks, really makes Sharlayan sound like they're just a bunch of fucking cultists.
It really does, but oh boy.
All the more reason that I think reason that I think Fortunato was spending way too much time at the Forum and not enough time fucking his wife.
Or spending time with his kids.
That too, but there was a clear
reason why.
There was clearly mistakes were made.
Yes. Regardless, the news has been spread, and we spend our last night before the final days truly kick in by getting a chance to talk to any of the characters that we've talked to before.
I just want to go over it because that comes later. Never mind. We go ahead and we basically spend some time with each of the Scions.
Well, we have a dialogue option to choose one of them that night. What I had you do was go through the
go through the list.
Go through the list one by one so you can see them all.
Right. Okay, we're at that one, not at the other one. Never mind. Continue.
Yeah. So we choose the ones we do. All of them are basically expounding on their character and changes. Like Thancred's asking you to basically keep him in check so he doesn't do anything reckless.
He all this end of the world nonsense is making his dad flight or fight response trigger.
Because basically we find out that if the source falls, the reflections go with it.
And so he's obviously worried about Reen and Gaia.
Yeah.
And I'm including Gaia in there because I think at this point it's safe to say that Gaia is invited to the family dinner.
Yes. Y'shtola is talking about the mysteries of the world, and she's actually concerned about us because we were exposed to a lot of Dark Ether fighting Zodiark.
Yep.
She was hoping that we didn't have another Sin Eater or Void Sense situation.
Right. Alice and Graha basically are worried about their fanboy status and want to make sure that we are okay. Alphino has his concerns about his dad.
Yes, and we don't talk to Urian J, but Estinian talks in, trying to avoid the twins.
Because he is not used to being around so many people still, but he basically voices his own concerns about Vajra as well as what's going on in Fafnir. Vitra, sorry.
But yeah. And also, he leaves like Batman. Yeah, he's the only one who actually enters your room and leaves through a fucking window.
Well, because he's still avoiding the twins, and he doesn't want to attract more attention, so he literally just Batmans his way out.
Yeah. But anyway, after all that, the final days have come to Fafnir.
So, we immediately go there, and we have to go ahead and try and deal with the chaos that's going on over there. I'm trying to remember, do the horror bits continue before or after the dungeon?
The horror bits start with the dungeon.
Okay, so...
Because basically, we learned that basically the people are turning into the monsters instead of... Because in the final days of the Ancients, it was their creation magics that was creating monsters.
Right.
But for some reason, the people are turning into monsters now.
Yes, and not only are the people turning into monsters, there is no ether when they are slain.
Yeah. So, thus begins the Dungeon of Vanaspati.
Oh, Vanaspati! You gave me initially so much Holminster Switch energy, and I realized you're not bad, but you are still hard.
Yeah.
As we said before, we have done this one multiple times, and that second one was with me the first time actually. I was DPS.
I was tank for that.
And I think we had a ninja DPS that was like acting screwy.
That was for the second run.
Oh, that was the second one still? Okay.
Yeah, but no. Our first run, for some reason, our DPS was shit.
Yeah, no, and bear in mind that I'm playing ranged DPS, so I wasn't contributing much to the factor.
You are machinist. You are contributing jack and shit, I'm sorry to say.
No, I know the nerfs have hit us hard.
Yeah.
But no, the other one was not doing too good either.
Yeah. Vanaspati, that is a fucking nightmare of a dungeon. You see people transforming, everything's in flames. Holminster Switch, you saw little flames in the background. Here, the entire rainforest is engulfed in flames.
Also, I think the worst of the body horror was just seeing people wrapped in cocoons and transfiguring into basically the Bayonetta enemies that the Sin Eaters are styled to be. Meanwhile, your second mini boss is a fucking face eater at the front, elephant head on the back.
Yeah.
And that monster looks absolutely horrendous.
Yes. So then, we fought... the final boss is basically the first beast from the Amarat dungeon turned into a giant snake.
Yep.
Giant flying snake, and... Oh boy, that thing hits hard.
I will say, I would say at least as far as... Stormblood onward.
Yeah.
Each of the boss themes for the dungeons.
Yeah.
Absolutely snaps as far as the theme of each of the expansion goes. For Stormblood, you really get the feeling that you are fighting a rebel fight, dealing with everything for Doma and Alamigo.
Yeah, you can hear the battle anthem of it.
Yeah. Into Shadowbringers, it's very interesting because you have the metal version, the rock version as the mini boss theme, but it switches to orchestral when you're doing the final boss fight. It's the same theme, but it's just the instruments are different, and it really scales up the grandioseness of you are fighting basically heaven angels.
Yeah.
And then this, you literally apocalyptic end of the world drum beat as you are beating down blasphemies.
Yeah.
Which is what the names of these creatures are eventually given by the people of Fafnir, and it's eventually adopted by the Alliance, the Eorzean Alliance overall.
Yes. And yeah, the blasphemies are horrifying. When you get to near the end, when you're fighting that boss, you just see a swarm of the weird squid ladies just flying through the sky. It's nightmarish.
Yes. And to go ahead and quote our encounter in that dungeon, into which I used my very best airline steward voice. Hello, thank you for flying to Hentai Air.
Jesus Christ. Why?
You're the one who says that the conditions are swarming tentacle women.
I mean,
tell me that's not accurate.
I mean, fair enough. But anyway,
I mean, it'd be the perfect weather for Fortuna.
Okay, moving on. We finished the dungeon, and
we are not done with the horrors of the body, because we regroup in Rei'tan proper.
We try to console everyone. Vitra is currently out fighting the blasphemies with a Stinian on his back, just like in the trailer. And when the satrap shows up to try to console people, a lot of people are obviously very distraught. And then comes in Matsya, who tells that he's worried for the people of Palakistan because he saw monsters there. An old lady who was worried about her grandchildren in Palakistan starts crashing out real hard.
Because her son is one of the ones dead, because Matsya couldn't find them. And then immediately sets off a cascade where people are transforming into monsters, the worst of which is a father transforming in front of his son.
The son transforms in front of the father, turning into a little gremlin thing, who then immediately gets crushed on by a giant blasphemy.
Which then transforms the father.
Well, he tries to transform. Emotional support Graha comes in and saves him.
Okay.
However, that giant blasphemy does eat the satrap.
Which does not help with the situation that we're going on.
No, that's what almost caused the man to crash out.
Okay.
Seeing both his son and the satrap die in front of him.
Yes, and I believe satrap dies in the... he literally gets...
eaten.
Yeah, no, Dark Souls 2 Cyclops.
Yeah.
He literally gets his head knocked off.
Yeah, which is fucked up.
Yes. Which isn't even the beginning of which, because we go to Palakistan with Matsya,
who is looking for a pair of people that he knows personally.
A couple that he personally knows who are with child. And we go around asking the villagers, trying to recoup with everyone, to find out that the couple fled the town. We find the husband, unfortunately, dead. But urging that his wife and child are still out there.
We look for them. Before we find them, we find a group of people recovering at a temple, in which we hear some of the prayers people use to say to keep them centered, because to live is calamity, basically. That was one of the lines.
Yes.
Because life is suffering, but we push on through it.
Right. The Catholic version of this is to live is to sin, to survive that is to become what is to overcome that.
Yes. To live is to suffer, to drink of calamity. Pain, death lurks in the dark. But you will recover, you will live, and you will grow stronger from it. But yeah, basically that happens. We then find the lady with baby, who is being chased on by one of those weird liquor enemies.
Who, unfortunately, she gets chucked into a fucking reservoir.
And the impact probably broke her neck.
She's dead. The child is drowning under the water, and so we have to go in, fetch the kid, bring it up to the surface. The kid is alive, but we have to go ahead and pass that to Matsya because we're dealing with all the calamities. And Matya's running for his life while the baby is transforming before his very fucking eyes.
To which then Matsya starts panicking and starting to transform before our eyes. I have never had more of an anxiety attack during that.
And he remembers the prayers and begins to calm himself down.
Well, he doesn't. He recites the prayers and still starts to transform.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, when he was about to get attacked by 2 of those elephant head monsters, he gets saved by both Vitra and Estinian.
Yes.
Which calms him down. Matsuya shows the baby to the dragon and saying, "Can you calm him, please?"
To which Vitra somehow obliges.
Yeah, somehow that actually... I mean, what little kid doesn't like dragons?
Fair enough. And I think, at least, if you want to go ahead and say about the soul of the king, like, Vitra absolutely, like, has that magnanimity. So, somehow, Vitra is able to go ahead and make sure that the child survives and make sure Matsuya doesn't have any more of a panic attack than he already had. Because, boy, howdy, I think everyone feels more for Matsuya in that moment than the warrior the warrior of light at that time.
Do you see?
I think that is one of the few instances. It's like, I have never felt more sorry for an NPC than I have now.
Yeah. For some reason, I knew Matsuya for literally 5 minutes, and I would do anything for him.
Exactly. That is a fairly accurate statement. And it's also just equally adorable, because I don't think we brought up this fact, is that he is crushing hard
On Nadana.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also,
he's the model that's used for that one TikTok that I showed you where
yes.
when you're feeling down, give up.
Yes.
Just fuck it.
Yes, that fucking meme. It was also... I am glad now I got to see that origin, so I'm appreciative of that. But...
We regroup back at Rei'tan after things start to calm down a little.
To which Nidana also does show up to go ahead and help assess things, and actually goes ahead and offers a little bit of chai to everyone.
Yes,
not the mikote, the actual drink.
Yes, she gives that to everyone to help calm them down. Vitra somehow accidentally reveals that he's the king.
Right,
and then everyone starts to make their way back to Rei'tan.
Well, because he eventually realizes that he's going to have to go ahead and explain this shit to everyone. He doesn't have a choice now with the actual satrap being eaten. And so he goes ahead, brings Varshan, his puppet, to go ahead and be there as well.
To basically say, what you're about to see, I wish you to see with an open mind.
And so he basically explains the deception that we were already aware of before, which coincidentally is the perfect time for fucking Fortunalt in the forum to show up to ask, "We need to speak with your satrap."
You are speaking to him.
And watch Horshaphant go through...
Fortunalt
go through immediate horror, despair, and recomposing himself before going ahead and basically offering to people of Fafnir basically the option to go ahead and join the Great Pilgrimage.
Yes.
As they are basically rounding up samples, and I use that in air quotes, to prepare for the Great Voyage.
Yeah. Basically, they're looking for people to take to the moon to start establishing it.
As a colony.
Which, that happens. And then Nidana shows up once again, who realizes, I have an idea about what's going on! Where's that flower you've been holding?
Yes, and we go ahead and show it to her.
Which it then proceeds to decay in the despair.
Which we basically get this impression that the Akasha is being traceable through this flower, and that negative Akasha is what's causing these transformations. We track down through Rei'tan that when everything started going to shit, it was because of the merchant that we initially met at the port city was basically in despair over realizing that his entire mercantile business was thoroughly fucked, and that he basically was relying on one last possible shipment to see his business through, which got pulled, and hearing that caused the first domino to fall.
It caused the first domino to fall, which also, it happened before the sky even turned red, which means anyone and everyone can turn into a blasphemy, which kicks off the role quests.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the role quest really quick?
So the I forgot what the name of the group is called. The is it called like the Radiant Horde?
The Radiant Host.
The Radiant Host is the Thavnarian militia, who basically have gone ahead and coordinated with all the other city-states and nations to basically deal with the blasphemies. As even though the majority of it is in Rei'tan, there are localized blasphemy threats all over Eorzea.
Yes.
And so entities from Ul'dah, Limsa Lominsa,
It's Alamigo, Limsa Lominsa,
Bredania, Ulda,
it's Ishgard, and Kugane.
All basically have their own blasphemies to deal with.
Yes.
And therefore they go ahead and request aid through the various role quests.
Yes. The one that you have done was the range DPS, which took you back to Othard.
Yes. Yes, it took us back to Othard and Doma.
Yeah.
As apparently I forgot what his name is. Shoot. Hien is basically dealing with some unrest within his people. As although he has been probably one of the most supportive members of the Alliance, a lot of the people feel that is at the detriment to his local people. And what has been happening is that they have been starting to worship a blasphemy that is known as Izanami.
Yes.
If you're familiar with the Shinto goddess of death.
Yeah.
And so what happened is that an Alra girl lost her fisherman husband and child, and was on such despair that she basically transformed into Izanami. Her mother, who is a medium/seer of sorts, is basically praising her daughter as being a kami reincarnated, and is spreading word of her daughter being the goddess as a pseudo cult, and basically assuring people that through Izanami's embrace, through Izanami's blessing, everyone will be reunited in death. As she's only targeted as Izanami seems to explicitly be targeting
former Garlean conscripts,
former Doman conscripts to Garlemald.
Yes, that.
And so once this pattern has been traced, it comes to a matter of how to confront the people. As unfortunately, a lot of people are actually distrustful of Hien, although Shizune and the Warrior Light are able to go ahead and interact with folks.
It then comes to light that, well, what happens is the cult tries to convince Hien to
basically give up all the conscripts, because only by sacrificing them to Izanami will the dead be sated.
However, it's then revealed that one of the conscripts that was thought to be dead...
That comes later. Well, we're actually looking at the mom, because we actually find out that she was in exile from
Suino
Sato. And, of course, because our dear ninja friend is also from Suino Sato, she decides to go. She asks us to take her along with her while we investigate the mother's background.
We investigate the mother's background, find out that she was a seer from a young age. People were not sure if even her stuff was real. But it turns out that she pissed off the Ruby Princess somehow.
Yeah, she basically got invited to the Ruby Keep to go ahead and basically test her powers in front of the princess. Either she failed or she pissed off the princess with whatever was said. Either way, she was exiled from that point onward.
Yeah. And
the people we get this information from are
Yugiri's parents.
Yugiri's parents. I'm sorry, not Shizune. Yugiri's parents, who seemingly think that they recognize her daughter, but Yugiri hides it from them. But her parents still wish her well, which gives Yugiri a little bit of closure, because she was worried about them ever since she rejoined Hien, and has thought about them since the peace times. Now it's at this point that basically in talking with Hien, he realizes that he needs to give the people an opportunity for closure, which he goes around asking people to put up offerings to give to the Swallow's Compass.
Yes.
Which is, remember, an effectively grand temple. It's at this point the mom of the kami comes in and tries to demand sacrifice, to which Gosetsu returns!
Gosetsu returns, and not only that, reveals that one of the people that she tried to get possessed by and talk to was actually alive the whole time.
And he was a fellow pilgrim who basically met with Gosetsu. They spent some time in an infirmary together, and basically he was able to corroborate this. He explained that he had gone on pilgrimage, was simply injured on the way back, and had not been able to make contact with his son, but he had not perished. And people started realizing that the bomb was a bit of a fake.
Yes.
Which left her disgraced and encouraged the people to follow Hien's plan to offer closure at the Swallow's Compass.
To which the mother does show up at the Swallow's Compass offering her apologies before trying to cut down Hien.
Which Yugiri easily intercepts, killing the mother in turn.
However, she was also luring in Izanami to try to take care of Hien, if she could not.
Right, which leads to an instance involving Hien, Yugiri, and your character fighting Izanami. Which is interesting, at least for this instance, because I was playing DPS. Because trying to deal with the Izanami's constant damage was a pain in the ass. And I was actually, no matter how well I played or dodged, I was still down to maybe about a third, half my health by the time we get a phase change. Under which case we realize we're kind of fucked if we keep going at this rate. To which Gosetsu returns again, revealing that he has subclassed into White Mage.
Yes, and so he heals us and helps us through the rest of the fight.
He wanted to initially join as his normal samurai self, but injured himself in practice.
Yes.
To which he gets himself out of bed in spite of having back pain, and reveals that in his pilgrimage, he has begun to train in the ascetic arts.
Which is kind of awesome, to be perfectly honest.
Which makes a lot of sense, given his sort of path to being a warrior monk now comes full circle. He was the warrior before, he sought spiritual enlightenment, and now he's reached the monk half of that epitaph. And so he's able to provide healing and go ahead and raise shields to block some of the more dangerous attacks, which allow you to go ahead and seize the day.
We seize the day, victory is assured, Hien will try to continue to fix things up, because, again, he's... For a lot of the good that Hien's done, he had a lot of good intentions, but a lot of it bit him in the ass.
He's kind of going through the same arc Nanamo did, whereas Nanamo was just more out of touch with her people, Hien just was more inattentive because of trying to focus on the bigger picture.
Yes.
So, at the very least, that arc is resolved. Yugiri is satisfied knowing that her parents are alright. Gosetsu returns on his pilgrimage, but promises to visit every now and then with more information.
Yes. And that basically ends that world quest. What did you think of it?
It was really nice, and if that's basically the trend going into the other realms, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
Especially for when we go back to I forgot what its name, Karthus.
Ishgard.
Ishgard, yes.
That one actually surprisingly deals a bit with the Knights of the Round,
which I think is good because we still have to deal with those assholes after what they pulled in Heaven's Word.
So they're supposed to be dead, but something is going on with that. For Alamigo, you deal with Arnvald and Fordola.
Oh, okay. We get a continuation of that arc.
With Limsa, you deal with Merlweb and the Company of Heroes.
Oh, nice. We get to see more screen time with them.
And with Gridania, you deal mainly with Kanistana.
The only time they have been relevant since ARR.
Pretty much. So yeah, those are where those lead to, and all of them lead to a capstone which deals with stuff in Garlemald.
Okay.
Where you get help from Fortuno.
Of all people.
Of all people, but we'll get to why he's helping later.
Yes, we'll talk about that in the next podcast when I have a chance to go through the remaining role quest lines. Unlike with Shadowbringer, these are optional.
Yes.
And they're only really required because you want to be able to level and get your role gear, although that's not really necessary either.
It's only to get the die for your role gear.
The die version of them, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
But
anyway, coming back from that, the Scions kind of meet up in Merid's Mehan. I believe I said that correctly. The freaking tavern in Rei'tan, where they have a drink, they gather all their knowledge together, and they try to figure out what's going on. We know that the one lead that we have is the flower that Heidelin gave us, which, by the way, on the moon, we actually learned its name. Elpis. Which, once we know that, Graha comes up with an idea. Elidibus.
Elidibus is still sealed within the Crystal Tower.
Elidibus is still in the Crystal Tower, and he is probably the only one who knows anything about Elpis.
And so, if we want to go ahead and get information, we'll need to. The Warrior of Light will have to go back to the first and question Elidibus through the tower.
Yes. So Graha gives him his crystal, his
blood-stained auracite.
Yes.
Let's call it that. The blood-transfused the Allegan auracite in order to be able to unlock the Crystal Tower, but bids us to go ahead and talk to Lena about that, as she would be the one who has the keys.
Yeah, she has the keys to open the ocular, and while we're waiting for Lena to open the ocular, we actually have a bit of a chance to converse with some people. We talk to Morin, who's wanting to get to chronicle our adventures. We see the little kids who were looking up to the Warrior of Darkness.
We talk to Beak Lug for a little bit, and we also talk to Reen.
Tareen and Feo Uhl.
Yes.
You can't forget our lovely branch.
Yes, he will never let us go, will he?
No, he won't.
But they go ahead and there's a nice long conversation. I do wish there was a cameo from Gaia if you completed Eden before this point, but, I imagine that'll come later.
Surprisingly, yes.
Good.
Yeah, there actually is something in the post-Endwalker stuff involving Gaia.
Good. She deserves a little bit more screen time.
But
once we go ahead and we get that finished, Lena goes ahead and opens up the Crystal Tower for us, and we go into the Umbilicum.
And so we activate the tower. The tower does find Elidibus and projects him to us.
Who is grumpy as fuck.
Yes, because he can no longer sense Zodiark, and we have to explain exactly what the fuck happened.
And he's like, oh, crap baskets.
Oh, crap baskets. Now I actually have to help you with the shit.
And so he explains that because of the way that the Crystal Tower works, he can not just is able to send people forward in time, it's also able to send people back.
To be honest, this only comes up because we mentioned Elpis, and it turns out it's not just a flower,
but the name of a place within the ancient society.
It was a testing facility where not only was it a testing facility, it was run by Fandaniel before he was Fandaniel,
right,
when he was Hermes.
Which, we don't find that out until later, but we do go ahead and basically, Elidibus basically says, if you want your answers, it's going to be there. I'll send you back.
Yeah.
But,
it's going to cost him his life.
Yes.
So he uses the last of his power from when the Crystal Tower was supercharged to send us back in time to Elpis. However, we're not fully formed back there. We're basically a shade of a shade.
Which we don't understand why at first, because we are we are still shrunken compared down to the ancient ones. That much is true, but we're not even tangible compared to when we were running around in Amarat. We are basically a ghost now to them. And it's only when we see one familiar character and hear of the name of another do we have hope of ever doing anything.
We basically meet up with both Emet-Selch and Hythlodaeus.
We actually see what Hythlodaeus looks like, and we see an undramaed Emet-Selch before he went ahead and went full zaddy on himself.
He's still a fucking drama queen.
He is, but we understand at least that it was an evolution, not just a phase.
Yes. But yeah, for some reason, they can spot us, and they realize, oh wait, this looks like Azim's soul.
Yeah, but it's a really watered down version of it. It's almost like it's a familiar.
Yeah. So they...
Hythlodaeus bullies Emet-Selch to give him a little ether so we can actually see what he says. Do I have to? Don't you want to find out?
Don't you want to help your best friend who's helping you through this area?
And Emet-Selch gives the gaudiest sigh before granting us ether so that we can actually stand at their ranks.
Not only does it make us tangible, he adjusted our size as well.
Which is doubly funny because it's like, oh, he's a big one, isn't he? Because they will actually comment if you're a Lalafell, or if you're an Elzen or a Hrothgar on your size.
Yeah. I think it's actually... Yeah, or a Rogadin as well.
Or Rogadin. If you play as any of the tall races, or if you play as the Lalafell, they will comment of did you do your work on the Lalafell right? Of course I did. What do you think? Which is funny because you're still short amongst all the giants. But, basically, you briefly, without giving too many details away, because Elidibus explicitly states, whatever you do back there is not going to change what happens here.
You cannot change the past.
You cannot change the past. You're just going to be... Whatever happened has already happened, and you're just experiencing it so you can understand.
Mm-hmm.
which is weird, but it will make...
Considering what happens, it is a little weird.
But it will put into context certain interactions between characters when we get to them, and it will also explain why certain interactions don't happen.
Yeah. It also, I should mention, because of Pandemonium, we know why Elidibus knows that we went back in time. Because that, apparently, is canon.
Yes. Nonetheless, we go out with Hythlodaeus and Emet-Selch to go ahead and go explore Elpis.
Which is a beautiful place.
If we could see it properly...
Yeah, because for some fucking reason, every time I see someone enter this place, it is foggy as fuck.
We got rain, I think, the entire time we were in Elpis. Or the majority of the time, you wanted to show like a cutscene or a vista, and it was raining.
I hate that.
But we get explained that basically, Elpis is like the Labyrinthos in Charlian, is that it's basically a giant communal ground. Only instead of it being stuff that's harvested and stored there, like in Labyrinthos, it's actually where things are created, as the Ancient Ones possess creation magics of the highest caliber that they literally can create life.
Pretty much. They are testing their creations to see if they're viable to send out into the greater wild.
Which is...
interesting to say the least.
Interesting to say the least, but to the planets.
Yeah.
Because they do actually refer to it as... Aetherists. And so basically we get taught the rules, and we are explained that we are to introduce ourselves as a familiar of Azim in order to go ahead and not raise too many questions. And we even have to kill some creatures in order for Hythlodaeus to basically make some robes for us to fit in.
Because otherwise we look
out of place. The ancient society is very egalitarian in terms of their expression. Black robes are given for people in active duty. White robes are given to those venerated ones who are in retirement, and their masks their normal mask hold as station, which is why Emet-Selch has his around his neck still.
Yeah.
But they are not allowed to be masked within the facility.
Right. So we make our way through, and we end up bumping into Hermes,
who is the researcher that is being sought for the position of Fandaniel.
Not only that, we meet his little familiar, Meteion.
Meteion is an adorable little cinnamon roll. And as you said with Matsaya, anything that happens to her, I will kill everyone here. Wait, I don't think I should do that.
No.
We'll explain why that is. But Hermes here is basically a researcher with a heart of gold. He basically he is not just about submitting creations that have function or purpose. He wants to give them a life of their own. And we actually see him tending to a pod of axolotls when we initially encounter him.
Axolotls who have learned to fly.
Which is a little bit cause for concern because they do wander away from him, and we do have to help him catch them.
Yeah. Apparently, the fashion nowadays is to imbue aquatic life with the power of flight. I love how it's the fashion.
Yes, and this is why basically everything that you see that is somehow on the planet that should be in water is somehow able to fly.
Yes.
They were literally created with this.
For some reason...
I feel like of all the, there's a lot that we kind of accept as, a conventional RPGism. That is one of them, and I'm amazed that they have gone to the extent of saying, no, we have a reason for this.
Yeah, there's a reason why your mounts can fly.
Mm-hmm.
They've been imbued with air ether to fly.
Yes, which is why you have to go collect all the ether currents.
Yes.
And that was by design, even going as far back as to basically the time of the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
Which is basically where we are. So, Emet-Selch explains that his purpose is to inquire and to test Hermes to see if he
is truly capable
of being Fandaniel. And Hythlodaeus is sort of just the cover buddy who can't resist a good trip.
He is the chairman of the Bureau of the Architect. Basically, he is in charge of all the concepts. He's in charge of approving the concepts. He is the lead bureaucracy man.
And he gives no fucks.
No fucks.
Which is funny because they both talk about Azim, who is also on the convocation, and Azim just fucks off and does whatever he does.
I mean, he is the traveler. He's supposed to travel the world, solving people's problems, and...
Which confounds Emet-Selch to no end, which is the entire reason he is skeptical of our presence here. It's like,
What are you plotting?
You are here to fuck shit up.
Pretty much. So, basically, we hear the conversation of Fandaniel being offered we see Hermes being offered the seat of Fandaniel, and he's basically depressed because his previous mentor is the current Fandaniel, and that Fandaniel is stepping down and basically going to die and return to the star.
What's interesting here is we find out that prior to everything going on, the ancients can't die. They are basically ageless. And basically, when they retire, they basically reunite their own ether with the life stream before they get reincarnated and come back as someone else. It is very rare for someone who retires to not do this. And although there are exceptions. It's somewhat seen as a bit of a faux pas, and that the few that do retire willingly are kind of seen with not necessarily disdain, but more of confusion. Although their skills are always very much valued.
Yes. So basically, Hermes is dealing with the idea that if he accepts Fandaniel's position, he is basically tantamount to
signing his mentor's death warrant.
Yes.
And that causes great distress to Medion, who is an Endwalker.
Basically, a giant walking empath.
She, unfortunately, does not have the ability to regulate this, but she can communicate with her soul in a much to the extent the way that we do with the Echo, but she herself has poor speaking.
Yes.
Because that was not yet programmed into her by Hermes. Her ether is also very light, akin to us, which is why familiar is considered a proper title, even though Medion kind of looks like a... what is the name of that one girl from Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with the wings on her head?
Oh, I forget. Yuffie.
She kind of looks like Yuffie from Xenoblade 3, even though I'm pretty sure Medion came first.
Medion came... technically, Melia from Xenoblade Chronicles 1 had wings on her head.
Okay, so then she'd be like that. And so that design is kind of similar. She also has bird feet as well. But she can basically read creatures and people's emotions, but she has no regulatory ability to do so.
Yeah, she can also convey her thoughts, which will come up later. But basically, we kind of help cheer Medion up. We come back to Hermes, and he has to go about his business on Elpis. And Hades and Hythlodaeus kind of join in to kind of
shadow him. They basically want to see how he reacts to stressful situations. We help him deal with a flying creature that doesn't want to fly properly. We watch him deal with a runaway creature that we unfortunately have to help him put down, and he laments having to kill his own creature.
Yes, we also have a moment with Hermes where we show him a bunch of Elpis flowers that we project our emotions onto and turn dark, because Medion worries that
his depression
is basically, he feels like he's the only one like that.
Right. And he basically goes on and tells us about one of his theories about another energy source that may exist within the world. Dynamis.
Yes.
Everything that the ancients and that we've all done up to this point is based off of ether, which is considered a finite, tangible resource. Everyone's able to regulate it. The ancients have a massive amount of ether, but as a result, they are not able to detect Dynamis. Hermes theorizes that Dynamis is a thinner density than ether, and therefore can only be detected and used by low ether constructs.
And so that's why he created Medion.
However, he does believe that comparatively, Dynamis has a much higher yield output in comparison to ether, should enough of it be gathered. And given a proper push, so to speak. And once channeled has explosive output. And he believes that the Elpis flowers are low enough ether that they are able to detect Dynamis.
Right.
Which we get flashbacks to what we were talking to about Akasha.
Right. So we see Hermes kind of crash out a little when he has to take care of putting down a creature that he was trying to basically build up and stuff, but it was just too violent. And we take a break from that for a bit as Hermes goes off to kind of cool down. Emet-Selch and Hythlodaeus go on to another area of Elpis, to which we end up running into Vana.
No.
Oh, wait, we have a funny scene before that.
So what happens before that is that Hythlodaeus is talking to Emet-Selch about some of the creatures that they're going to see. All the meanwhile, we see what's a predecessor to the Spriggans running off, and a giant walking shark man following close behind, to which said shark man sees us and decides to take out his rage on us before a white-robed figure jumps in and saves our behinds.
Yeah. All the while, Hythlodaeus is talking about how the fashion has been to imbue sharks with different
combinations of parts.
Yeah, which is really funny.
Which leads into Vana making her appearance, who we learn, one, this is the name of Hydaelyn as an Ascian.
Yes.
And two, she is not only a retired Ascian, a retired ancient, but also the former Azim, the predecessor to our Azim.
Yeah, which is really fucking wild to find out about.
Right. But it does as we interact,
she notices something about us.
She notices that the energy signature, the ether signature that we have, and kind of understands that you're not from this time, are you?
She realizes that there's a spell on us that she has made, but she has never met us before. Therefore, the only time she could have cast it on her was at a later point in time.
Right, and so she understands at least our nature in this. And she basically offers her support to what she can extend, and helps us do our own investigation into Elpis, as we want to know more about Hermes and how he ended up being who he is.
Not only that, but we wanted to find the true source of the final days, because we don't know what that is yet. However, we do have an inkling at this point. But before that, Hades is like, you've been hiding a lot of stuff from us.
And we have to go ahead and display the full cards to Emet-Selch, as well as Hythlodaeus and Vana, who... At this point, Emet-Selch has a proper crash out because he doesn't believe anything coming out of our mouth.
Especially when we talk about him recreating Amarat and basically wishing for death at that point.
Right. But Hythlodaeus says that there are stranger things to have come across, and admits that it is all rather far-fetched.
Yes. And then Emet-Selch storms off, Hythlodaeus follows after. We're stuck with Vana, and she asks us, what do you think about everything going on? To which we basically reply, it's either Medion, Hermes, or Dynamis, or some combination of the three.
Those three are definitely involved, and thus she decides, since Dynamis is still relatively untested, and Medion herself is basically under Hermes' care, the only lead to go on is to research Hermes himself.
We should also mention that at this point, Hermes has revealed that Medion has several sisters that he has sent out into space that he is trying to find the answer to life with.
Which, if you recall the story of how things went in Shadowbringer, that doesn't end well.
No, it doesn't. But basically, we have to have a little fight with Vana to have Argos, her familiar, like us at all, so we can go to this one little island to use the Echo on.
Right. And so we actually spar with Vana in an instance, which it's very interesting because she goes through Dancer,
White Mage,
and Black Mage.
No, Paladin.
Paladin.
Yeah. So she's a tank, she's a healer, and she's a DPS.
Yep.
And that is a pretty rough fight if you don't know what you're doing, and if you don't have the right gear for it.
But I was properly geared and properly leveled, so it was not too bad.
Also, the way that she summons her weapons reminds me of Noctis from Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, well, it's also because, she's literally summoning her weapons the same way she summoned heroes in the past.
I mean, fair enough.
So, very much you get to see who Hydaelyn was before she was Hydaelyn. And it also explains because when your companions are traveling on the moon, they also have Argos copies tend to them. But Argos is the only one who quickly recognizes us and allows us to ride them without care.
Unless that time loop is closed.
So, we go ahead and prove our mettle to Vana, who is very impressed with our skills.
Despite us being a fraction of the strength of of an ancient.
And goes ahead and Argos is at least impressed enough to let us ride on its back.
So
we should also mention, because we never described Argos, what breed of dog is Argos?
They're a Borzoi, pretty much.
They are
or an Afghan hound.
They are a golden Afghan hound, which... Doesn't the hair color look a little familiar to you?
Yeah, it looks strangely like Minfilia, and I'm thinking, like, did Hydaelyn dress up Minfilia to look like Argos?
Well,
that's kind of fucked up.
All the Minfilias that we know of, both in the source and the first, have golden blonde hair.
Yeah, I know.
So, and I believe I made this joke when we were doing the finale, which was Minfilia is Argos' human Sona.
Oh God.
So, but no, we were able to go ahead and we do an investigation. We use our echo to determine that yes, Hermes did send out various Medion sisters to go explore stars abound. He promised Medion Prime, who is our Medion for all intents and purposes, that when she finished her trip, he would greet her with a gift of flowers, being the Elpis flowers, and that he would teach her to walk amongst the people.
Yes.
Which is a promise that will become very relevant towards the end of the game. Nonetheless, we continue learning about Hermes. Hermes did not submit Medion for consideration of approval because she's not ready yet.
Yeah.
And it's very unusual for a project to go with as much, not just existence, but as long as work also as Medion has, which many people are unfortunately not able to object because of Hermes' high position.
Yes. Basically, he's been kind of doing this experiment with Medion under the table.
And it's causing... It hasn't... For some reason, hasn't raised any red flags with people until we start gathering all this information and present it to Emet-Selch and Hythlodaeus.
We present it to them, who then bring it all up to Hermes, to which we explain basically everything. And he says, basically, yes, the final days would likely have been the result of a dynamis explosion, so to speak, a dynamis flood.
But there's no way that would happen unless you happen to have a massive influx of dynamis from a creature who is able to compel it, which, a reminder, none of us are able to use it, and then Medion starts going into a trance.
She goes into a trance. Basically, she goes into robot hive mind sync mode.
Because she is, as an Endwalker, is able to communicate with any of her other selves. And she begins receiving reports from them as they have gone to stars and find them abandoned in apocalyptic state or downright demolished.
I will say that she tries to avoid telling us that at first, to which we see her freaking out, and we're experiencing her thoughts and stuff, and it is fucked up. We see her eyes go black and bloody.
She basically tries to run away and conceal herself by hiding her ether sense. But Hades / Emet-Selch is able to go ahead and proc her as long as we can go ahead and find her via dynamis search.
Yeah.
And so we basically have to track her down. We eventually corner her before she continues her transmission, to which not Hades at this point, actually Hermes wants to hear everything from Medion. And going full goth, he accepts her report as a sign that the life is not worth living, and basically takes Medion, teleports himself within the major Elpis facility, and says, "Fuck you.
I want to hear the full report."
And so he basically calls an alert, forcing everyone out of the facility while we're hunting him down, and thus Hythlodaeus, Emet-Selch, and Vana go along with you into
Catesis Hyperborea. That is a fucking mouthful.
Yes, it is.
And I only know how it's spelled because fucking Hermes said it himself.
Yes, it is. The amount of Greek that you are shoved into this campaign is uncomfortable if you have not either taken your required Roman history class during COVID, or you are not innately interested in Greek mythology recently.
So yeah, I believe we went through it normally, but you can go through it with Hades, Vana, and Hythlodaeus. Hades can act as a Dark Knight or a Black Mage. Vana as the aforementioned Paladin, Dancer, or White Mage. And Hythlodaeus is always a Bard.
Yes. So you always have one DPS, and then the other two change classes as necessary to fit your comp.
This is a really fun dungeon.
It really is. The first boss has some neat gimmicks about hiding in the snow and needing you to find the hole that it's probably going to pop out to avoid a massive AoE attack except for behind it. The second enemy has heads that it does breath attacks out of that you have to coordinate with area sweeping limb attacks.
And then you get to fight Hermes proper.
Which Hermes lives up to his name and takes on a form befitting the god of commerce and birds.
Yes.
As he goes full winged sage and starts layering attacks on top of itself in an attempt to mess you up.
Dropping meteors, throwing wind gusts at you. It is the whole kit and caboodle. It's not that hard of a fight, but there is some stuff that you gotta do, like you gotta interrupt one of his attacks to make sure he doesn't get a buff.
Right, which can be a little jarring if you haven't used it in a while.
That's why you gotta make that cast bar for enemies a lot bigger than you think.
Mm-hmm. But in doing so, Hermes reveals his trump card, which is within Katisa's Hyperborea is the regulation system, which not only has the ability to go ahead and resort the state of beings, but can literally do a mind wipe if he allows it.
Kairos.
Kairos. Which he goes ahead and has set in play and basically tries to knock you off the tower so you can't activate it.
Yeah.
Only for Vinod to go ahead and anticipate that. Hermes and Emet-Selch basically open up a gateway for you and Vinod to escape, while both of them keep Hermes in play.
I should mention that at this point, Medion has gone full goth and is basically talking about singing the Song of Oblivion to bring about the end
and basically decides she's going to launch herself into space to make sure that she's able to complete that plan.
She basically tries to fly off to the edge of the universe. Vinod tries to chase after but can't catch up to her, so she fires off basically a tracking spell onto the bird.
Mm-hmm.
And then we basically managed to escape. Only the Warrior of Light and Vinod managed to escape.
Hythlodaeus and Emet-Selch are caught within Kairos, and they go ahead and suffer a mind wipe alongside Hermes, who post-explosion decides, you know what, I think Fandaniel would be better than having to deal with whatever nonsense we just went through. And both Emet-Selch and Hythlodaeus feel like they've forgotten something, but Emet-Selch is too pissed off to give a damn.
He's too pissed off to give a damn. Meanwhile, Hythlodaeus is saying, maybe when we return to the Ethereal Sea, because it's also been established when you return to the Ethereal Sea, you regain any memories you might have lost. And he says, maybe we'll look back on this day and laugh.
Right.
And to which, the irony for Hades.
Yes. Nonetheless, Vinod and the Warrior of Light go ahead and reconvene, and they realize sort of the situation that they're in. There's no way they can go ahead and get Emet-Selch and Hythlodaeus to help now. The path has been been set as a result of our actions, but now we know for a fact that Dynamis is the reason that we're able to do shit. That Medion is the cause of the calamities because she basically was able to send out Dynamis to go ahead and cause the end of days. And that if we are going to go ahead and have a chance at stopping it, rather than fleeing from it, we have to be able to confront her at the edge of the world.
Right. So, we have all that answers. We return to our own time, and while on the way back, we get basically a clip show of Vinod's travel through the ages.
As she see once again the end of days occur for Amarat, for the Amaratians, as everyone picks their sides. Vinod goes ahead and sees the initial worshippers start to offer their bodies up to Zodiark, to which she says, "Fuck that noise, death before dishonor," and actually slays a few of her own kinsmen before she becomes the heart of Hydalit.
Right.
And in going through the ages, she sees the various ages and the various trials that weigh down on her. Like, she really gives up her all for these people, and they go through all the human emotions that you expect: pettiness, jealousy, envy, war, death, and it weighs down on her as she is literally a shadow of her former self by the time that she makes it to the end.
She basically admits that she has breathed calamity for people to walk through and grow stronger through, because she could not let man have, to quote herself, "let man not have wings to paradise. Henceforth, he shall walk.
Right.
And that is such a hard fucking line.
So we eventually make our way back to the Crystal Tower. We go ahead and realize we have a whole lot of info to dump onto the Scions.
However, they are currently dealing with the final days in Garlemald.
That is to be expected.
Yes. Oh boy, this just keeps going, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So, we deal with an instance of dealing with Alphino and Alisaie, both dealing with various blasphemies in Garlemald, as people from Rei'tan tried to flee to Garlemald to use the teleporter to go to the moon, since it turns out that the spaceship that... Oh yes, there's a spaceship that the Forum had been constructing is not quite ready yet.
Right, so the Grand Exodus was supposed to be on a spaceship given designs from the Loporrits that will allow them to go ahead and journey to the stars.
It's supposed to be a spaceship that will transport people from Aetheris to the moon, so the moon can then be used as a bigger spaceship to take off to future stars.
Correct. However, they try to go ahead and go through Tower of Babel to do this, but in doing so get ambushed by blasphemies, which leads to this instance. We get to go ahead and play through as Alisaie, Alphino, and eventually ourselves before the Sharlayans do arrive to provide some secondary support.
Well, the Sharlayans tried to offer support. The true support comes from the actual Garleans.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's not the Sharlayans, it's the Garleans.
The Garleans that do actually go ahead and join the fight and try to go ahead and move past what has happened.
Which, everything happens, takes care of. People are thankful for us. And then, Xenos decides to show up again.
Yes.
Because I think we forgot to mention, Xenos was pissed off that Zodiark was a fucking disappointment.
Yes, and wasn't even worth a challenge to quote him. And so he still wants that rematch.
But
he's also aware that the end of the world kind of puts a damper on that.
The end of the world kind of puts a damper on that in the fact that we're more focused on that than we are on our best buddy.
Which disappoints him immensely.
Yes. Which, he basically goes on a tirade, because Euless confronts Xenos saying, "You did all this just for that?" And then Xenos says, "Would you be happier if I had a good reason?"
Right, and basically says that his own nihilistic pursuits are because that is what he wants, and whether it's the death of the universe or being killed by the Warrior of Light, he just wants to see an end.
Yes.
A glorious end, not a trifling end like what we did to Zodiark.
Yeah.
And basically leaves us there, which is then followed up by the arrival of Urianger and the Loporrits.
Yes. I should also mention that Alisaie actually does speak up about Xenos' philosophy, saying that no matter if you keep going down this hedonistic path of yours, you'll never get the fight you so desire.
Which kind of gives him a moment for pause, and it's like, oh.
Maybe.
And then he kind of disappears after that to go ahead and ponder that.
But yeah, Urianger and the Loporrits also show up at this point, because the Loporrits are upset that no one's on the moon yet.
And they also, because of Urianger's talking moments with them, they are convinced to at least come down to Aetheris to get a better understanding of culture, what things are, and how to make things comfortable if they have to go ahead and use the star plan after all.
And they are coming down to basically offer their assistance, to which we will basically bring them to Sharlayan to help with that, but also we've actually managed to convince Fortuno to let us have a conversation with the Forum. Because
we realized that the only way we're getting to Meteon, wherever Meteon is through space travel. It's impractical to go ahead and use the moon for that, but if we use the shuttle, we might actually have a better chance of being able to go and confront Meteon ourselves.
So we basically strike a deal with the Forum when we get back. Let us help figure out the problems that you have with the spaceship in exchange for letting us use it for another reason, as well as getting to speak with Hydaelyn.
Yes.
Because we now know that the message that they got about the final days was from Hydaelyn.
Yes, and so twofold, we have to be able to do two things. One, we have to go ahead and finish their problems with the ether burner, which they are using as their jet engine. And two, we have to be able to go ahead and solve the the fuel problem because they're worried about it not being powerful enough.
Right. So, for starters, we end up meeting with a Lalafell named Coco Daniel, who is currently the head mechanic for the Ether Burner.
And he basically explains the issue of he does not have the right amount of
refined adamantine,
nor the proper resources to be able to get the engine within acceptable parameters. Which, he explains that refined adamantite is only available in areas that have experienced high etheric overcharge, which would basically account, it's
Allagan refined adamantite, which means only the Allagans knew how to make it, and it's only in specific Allagan relics.
Which just so happens to correspond to areas that were affected by, the drop of Dalamud.
Yes, pretty much. So basically, Alphino does the biggest Chad move possible and asks Thancred for the Link Pearl, contacting all the city-states.
And basically makes a big call to each of the known cities' leaders to basically have an all-call hands to go into the coils of Bahamut to harvest whatever refined etherite that they can muster. They also need objects of great ether density that would be able to help channel the ether into the refined motor once it was completed. And so they reach out to both Ishgard, Doma, and Authard in order to gather relics of spiritual power that could be used for this purpose.
And basically, we get a whole scene of people getting ready to gather the materials. We see Nanamo give orders to Papashan and the stone torches, and even Lolorito.
Yeah, we see the I forgot what the name of the fucking tree tenders are.
We saw the Gridanians actually teaming up with the Alamegans to go for one of the Dalamud shards in Gridania.
Right. We also see Limsa Laminsa go ahead and begin doing what they do best.
Yeah.
Pillage and pirate.
Yeah.
We get to see... we also get to have a bunch of cameos depending on the amount of side questing you've done.
Yeah. So, first off, before we get to that moment, you have to run around and do a whole bunch of stuff for the Sharlians. It eventually culminates in a scene with Urianger and Moonbreeda's parents.
To it, basically, the Loperites want to be able to learn more about Sharlian culture because they're going to be working with them, and so you show them research plans. You introduce the right Loperites to the right researchers who are having troubles, and can rely on the Loperites' advanced understanding and insight to be able to overcome whatever difficulty they're having. And in doing so, people begin to converge within, not Aparis, the
Sharlian Hamlet.
In the Sharlian Hamlet, to better coordinate their tasks. And in doing so, all the commotion brings out Moonbreeda's parents, who basically already treated Urianger as a sort of son-in-law already to begin with.
Yeah. So, basically, it's a nice moment, really. It's closure for Moonbreeda. It's closure for Urianger's dealing with Moonbreeda.
He apologizes for not reaching out to them, and they both gently chastise him for saying, you know that we would have not blamed you for what happened. Everything she did...
She did of her own accord.
She did of her own accord, and she did it because she enjoyed being with you.
Yeah.
In so many words. And it gives it lifts the weight off of Urianger's heart for not just sending an ally to his doom, but also having to place hiding secrets.
Yeah. So it's closure and redemption for Urianger in a way. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying not to break down crying because I'm thinking of that moment, and I'm really trying to hold that back.
There's a lot of emotional scenes in this, and it really ramps up as we get to the end. Now we get to the point where everyone, Alphino sends out the request at the start of this arc, and by the time that it finishes, everyone arrives in Sharlian at once with everything, and you get additional dialogue footage depending on how many side quests you've done.
If you've done the Warring, not the Warring Tribe, if you've done the Four Lords, if you've done the Sky Pirates, if you've done Boja, if you've done Omega, if you've done pretty much any of the side content, if you've done the Evilise raids even, mm-hmm. It's amazing how much of that stuff is done. I think the only two things that we did not get were cutscenes for Boja and Eureka.
Yeah.
And those we weren't going to be getting.
Yeah, those I haven't assembled the team to go into that, but basically we got everything else from Quasar Bahamut to Alexander raids, the Four Lords raids, doing even Eden, I think came up.
No, Eden is only for the first.
Okay, but doing everything else, Deltascape.
Yeah.
Doing all of that stuff all came back and eventually was shown off as the literal world coming together to go ahead and put their belief into the Scions after everything that they've done. And at this point, Fortunal's Cuckening comes to its peak as he's basically forced to admit that his children were right, along with their new adopted dad. Suck it, Fortunal!
But yeah, he basically breaks down saying the reason why he was doing all this was because he was scared of the fate that would befall his kids.
And he still had resentment for his own father, Louis Swab, because of everything that happened in regards to the tragedy of Cartno.
Yeah. But he basically decides to finally put his faith in the kids. And with this, we have fulfilled our end of the bargain for the most part of fixing the ether burner, because Coco basically goes crazy saying, we'll get 14 bleeding% out of this.
An additional 14 bleeding%. It was a 12% deficiency. We're now going 14%.
It was only a 6% deficiency.
Okay.
But we basically doubled it, baby.
Right. The Lockwards also agreed to lend their Hyper Hopper technology to be able to make sure that we're able to make the trip to wherever Meteion is once they're able to locate the signal, which we will do in the meantime after we first have a conversation with Hydaelyn.
Which brings us to the 1-2 punch of the level 99 dungeon and 99 trial. The Aethercast and the Mother Crystal.
So the Aethercast is probably the best dungeon for a flashback of flashbacks.
Yes.
As not only are you fighting through past enemies of regrets, but you're also being assisted by past allies.
Yeah.
As you get glimpses of Papalimo, Horshaphant, Ysayle, and ultimately Minfilia leading you along the road to the Mother Crystal, where everyone was able to go in contact with Hydaelyn, but we were interrupted by an old enemy.
First off, we were interrupted by Livia.
Mm-hmm.
Livia Junius, who is still hung up on Gaius.
Right.
And we take care of her. We descend deeper. We run into Rydian, old Cape Westwind.
Yep. And we have to deal with his nonsense. Before coming back to, you thought you seen the last of Van Daniel, didn't you?
How many times must we teach you this lesson, old man?
I believe we're at 3 now.
Let's see.
Amon, Asahi, Van Daniel again.
Yeah.
And now, and Zodiark. So this would be like 5 times.
Let's see. We fought Amon in the Crystal Tower. We
watched Asahi get stabbed by... No, that is actually Asahi.
That is actually Asahi. So, technically, the second time would be when he was a Zodiark.
Yes.
The third time was when we fought him in the past as Hermes.
Yes.
And the fourth time is now.
So, this fight with, effectively, Amon Zodiark.
Yeah, with basically the remnants of Amon, we fight him, and during the middle of the fight, he does his curtain call from the Crystal Tower, to which we get saved by Ysayle.
Yep.
As Shiva.
Which is really, really a cool show.
Yeah. But we manage to fight him. He tries to flee, but ends up crashing back down and tries to say that death was the only solution, that he has his answer for the world.
And then the host comes out to go ahead and give him a talking to, as Asahi, also as a spirit, comes back and decides to go ahead and give him 2 words.
2 words is saying that you are going to be my bitch for the next century.
After using my body to be Xenos' fluffer of all things.
Yeah. Because he's hated the fact that he disgraced Lord Xenos.
Yes, he is that much of a fanboy that even in death, the only thing that pisses him off more than being an Asian puppet is the fact that he did Xenos dirty.
But yeah, even then, Daniel Amon questions basically even his own answers at the very end, and we basically try to say that we'll find the answer again in the future. We'll find the right answer. Because he finally remembers everything that happened in the past.
Right. As we said before, when an ancient reunites with the Eternal Sea, they regain any of their memories that they may have lost.
Yes.
And so that's what happened here. He accepts his loss. Asahi turns around and tells Alphino, I didn't do this for you, I did this for me, and then kindly fucks off down to the underworld.
To which Alphino says, likewise, I pray we never meet again, which is the fucking coldest line from the boy.
Again, he has had enough of his father's bullshit to where I'm like, I am done with this.
Yeah.
And so we go ahead, get to go ahead and approach the Mother Crystal, and we get to actually see Hydaelyn in her Vana in her Hydaelyn form.
In her full glory.
And I think I actually do choose to address her as Vana.
Yeah, you do choose to address her as Vana, because I think that's the real answer. After everything you've been through with her, yeah.
And so she goes ahead and, first of all, she thanks everyone for everything that they've done up to this point, because she knows exactly what the fuck we've been through.
Yes.
Since even Classic 14 for everyone, she knows that we've been through hell and back multiple times, and she knows that she's asking a lot from us.
She gives a pep speech to every single one of the Scions, and she says, there are only two paths ahead of you. One is to flee the star. The other lies with Medion. However, if you're going to fight a supreme deity, you need to be able to best one.
And so she basically challenges you to a fight, not just to prove your worthiness, but to also gain the resources of the Mother Crystal in order to even reach Medion.
Yes.
Because even with the question of... She basically knows where Medion is, but we don't have the resources to get to her. But if you use the power of the Mother Crystal, you might have enough.
Yes.
And so she challenges the Scions to a trial.
Yeah, which is the first instance of a trial where you can fight with all NPCs, which I would actually recommend people do, but I know we didn't do that, but it's a really good fight to do.
It also...
Also, Alizé just keeps using Limit Break 1.
Yes. It's also just an incredible boss fight, because again, it basically... The instance with Vana is to prepare you for the fight with Hydaelyn.
Yes. And she gives it her all. She actually summons the crystals that you've gathered throughout your journey, and you have to destroy them before she basically does her huge hop-on-pop, step-on-Zodiac sundering move.
Right. And she really does not hold back. But in the end, you and the Scions are able to overwhelm her.
And it turns out that she had been saving all her energy for this fight specifically, and she is now dying.
Well, that's not the only thing that happens. Flo begins to play.
Oh, God.
And
Flo, God damn it.
Her theme is really one of the most beautiful things in Endwalker, and I think it's one of the most emotional things. I think universally we can agree to it.
Yeah. Oh, God. That song kills me every time I hear it. And she does it right as she offers the last of her power to the soul crystal of Azem, which she says, I will imbue a little bit of my creation magic into it so you can use it, but only temporarily.
Yes.
And then she passes on as Flo continues to play, and oh my God, I can't help it. This song is so good.
And we now have to basically say, great, we killed Hydaelyn.
Yeah, we killed Hydaelyn, we killed Zodiac. There are no more gods to stand in our way. Except for one.
He laughs knowing what future content is to come.
Regardless.
We go ahead and make our report, but we do now have enough ether that basically we're guaranteed to go ahead and complete our goals once everything is set up. Living Way tells you 24 hours is all they'll need to go ahead and get everything set up.
So we have a day to rest, prepare, and get ourselves together, to which we spend it chatting with the Scions.
And you have probably some of the best character development moments with each of them.
Yes.
I believe it's divided into...
It's, you hang out with Y'shtola, Urianger, and Thancred in one. Alize and Graha and Cryo with another, and Alphino and Estinian with the last.
So I believe the order we did it in is we started with Thancred, Urianger, and Y'shtola, as all three of them are basically having a big feast at the last stand, and they're all sort of just, pondering like what
the heck do we do after this?
After this, because they've sort of agreed that this is probably going to be the end of their adventures, and they're already planning the next one. And Y'shtola wants to continue researching her adventures
to travel to different shards,
and maybe learn how to travel to different shards on her own way, at least so that way she can visit Runar at some point.
Hopefully, God, that's probably the only canon relationship in this game.
Well, not but the ones that we make are still funnier. As Urianger and Thancred are already planning their own honeymoon together to wander off wherever the fuck they want.
Yeah, that's happening. We then find Graha and... Oh, wait.
You forgot to mention the fact that near the end of the conversation, we do get to see Urianger white girl wasted.
That's true.
And he begins to see duplicates of the Warrior of Light, and is confused because he swears it's duplication magic, and yet he asks Y'shtola and Thancred about it, and they say, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And he refuses to believe them.
Fine, keep thine secrets.
Yep, it's fantastic. The next one we go see is Graha and Alice, and both of them are already passed out sleeping.
They're passed out sleeping, and we decide to join them for a quick little nap.
Quick little cat nap, to which Kryle goes ahead and comes on and sees us asleep. We wake up with her walking. She sees the other two devotedly asleep, and while Graha's in good spirits and just mildly embarrassed about being caught sleeping, Alice is full-on tsunderying it up in front of both the Warrior of Light and Graha.
Yeah, not another word. Do you hear me?
and I thought that Y'shtola was the only one who would get mad.
Oh, you haven't seen how angry Y'shtola can get.
Oh yes, I know. We haven't come to that scene yet.
Yes, but regardless, it's a nice little scene, and then we go off to the Lebier estate.
No, we forgot to mention Graha wants to potentially go see about his homeland if everything goes well. Alice still wants to go on adventures to help people, and Kryle kind of wants to go ahead and find her own path because she's kind of feeling lost in all this.
Well, what she needs to do is she needs to start repairing the Baldesion Annex.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Scholars of Baldesion, because although it assumes that we've at least started
fixing it,
Boja, she would like to go ahead and see it fully reestablished. Eureka, sorry.
Yeah. Eureka is the Isle of Val.
Oh, right. Eureka, she would want to see the Scholars of Baldesion reestablished.
Yeah, that's what we're trying.
Right. And now we get to go to Alphino and Estinian, and we get to see Estinian once again in one of the very few moments without his armor.
In the one few moments without his armor, and dealing with a tea party between Alphino and his mother.
Which is probably the most embarrassed he has ever been, but also the most heartening because he's basically been accepted into the family as an older brother.
Pretty much. It is kind of heartwarming.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about what they want to do. Estinian's probably just going to keep wandering. Alphino is probably looking to try to help some others. And we talk about how grateful we are to have met both of them.
Right.
And it's very heartwarming. And then it all comes to a close as the next day dawns.
And so we go ahead and get the most anime-ass cutscene where everything's getting ready to set off. They realize that the Aether Crystal amount that they have kind of is not going to be enough by itself. It would respond better if there were entities pushing the drive to go ahead and channel the ether in a more united way.
Basically, they can't exactly break the crystal up and shove it into the furnace.
And so what they do instead is they call all the allied societies,
not the beast tribes, the allied societies,
to go ahead and have the people channel their respective deities to go ahead and have those become the energy for the Hyperhopper.
Which is fucking hilarious, because basically 90% of the bosses in Final Fantasy XIV literally help you to get to the final area.
Yep.
Also, Moonbreeda's parents, Wilson and Bluevita, give you a special teleporter button.
A teleporter remote that will basically teleport one press of the button, everyone gets teleported back to the ship in case of an emergency.
Yes.
Keep that in mind.
Yes.
So we go ahead. We're given the option to give the sound off, but you can actually give that option to Alphino instead.
And I think that is the proper choice, in my opinion, because he does the most corny thing.
Of course he does. That's the only way to properly respond to when you're ordering a spaceship on a death mission to save the world launch.
Onward, unto the distant stars and beyond.
Yep. Although it's not nearly as, Stan Lee as that.
Sorry, I kind of emphasized it a little more.
Clearly. But then we go ahead and we see you see the video of the ship taking off into the stars, and then the Allied societies do their thing, summoning the primals from the Mother Crystal to go ahead and then assimilate themselves into the Ragnarok, because we now have the ship named
after the shards of Dalamud are called Ragnarok internment halls.
Yes. So the ship is named after Ragnarok. The various deities get some banter as they channel the will of their people and give themselves to power the Ragnarok.
Specifically Garuda and Susanna, which are both hilarious.
I am now shipping them. The bird woman needs to loosen up a little, and the Lord of Reverie is the one to do it.
Fair enough. By the way, the opening cutscene where you see the primals kind of emerge from the light, that's actually another callback to the 1.0 trailer, where the Warrior of Light is inside one of the Garlean floating pillar things.
Yes.
And they see a giant light appear when Midgardstormer destroys the big tower.
Oh, wow.
For some reason, there's a bright light, and you see all the primals kind of shoot out. So that's
cool.
another callback.
Yeah, they definitely do a lot of callbacks for the people who played 1.0. But nonetheless, the Hyper Hopper is successful. The biggest concern now for the Loporrits is that they don't know what So we know that the place that Medion is located at is called Ultima Thule, literally the edge of the world.
Yes.
And they just have no idea what it's going to be like when they land there, and so they're hoping that it's somewhat habitable, but they don't know exactly what the process is going to be to make it habitable.
To which we get interrupted halfway through because Medion shows up on board the ship and is a little creepy little gremlin.
And starts choking everyone out with her dynamis.
Yeah.
And which Thancred, being apparently strongest of balls, goes ahead, gets up, and manages to land a blow on Meteion. We think.
We pass out before we can see it.
We pass out, we wake up later, and we are able to land in Ultima Thule. But Thancred is nowhere to be found.
We get out and we get to the final area, narrated by both Hythlodaeus and Emet-Selch, calling for the final curtain call of this Tale of the Star.
And we go ahead and we start walking around Ultima Thule, and we see that it's a horrid little wasteland, as it's just it looks like a dying star.
Yes.
But it is habitable. It barely will sustain us, but it's dying. And we go wandering around, and we see these creatures of goo, seemingly wandering around without purpose.
Yeah, we end up going to what looks like a base of some ancient civilization. Nothing is there, but for some reason, both Astinian and the Warrior of Light can see dragons floating about, which raises some questions about what we're actually dealing with. But as we move on, we actually encounter Medion again.
And when we question her about Thancred, she explains, don't you see him? He's all around you.
He's all around you. Because in his final moments of trying to fight back against Medion, his soul, his spirit, fought back hard enough to basically reshape the dynamis around them into something habitable.
With his dying thought, survive. Thancred goes ahead, basically sacrifices his ethereal form, channels it all into dynamis, and creates basically gives us an interface to interact with on Ultima Thule to be able to make our way towards Medion.
Ultima Thule. This is all Thancred.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least for the start, because it seems like we're stuck here. We cannot literally progress forward without dealing with the dynamis of the dragons.
Yes, because the first dying civilization we get to meet in Ultima Thule is that of the dragons, of Midgardsormr's brood and the like.
And so basically, Midgardsormr, as we previously confirmed, is the only dragon to have successfully left his planet.
The rest just kind of gave up on fighting with the people of Omega.
And basically gave into despair, which is what we're seeing here, trapped in their own darkness.
They're basically just waiting for their bodies to give out.
Alphino theorizes that if we're able to go ahead and somehow overwhelm their despair with our own hopeful dynamis, maybe we can find a path forward. And so we try to go ahead and find scrapes of any surviving dragons, only to see that those who survived became corrupted and misshapen.
Yes. Any of the eggs that they laid just did not hatch, or they were completely warped. And so eventually we find the dragon with the most despair, and Estinian is the one to step up and basically challenge that dragon's way of thinking, saying, your race still survives out on our star. Even though they had to fight for their survival and their lives, they still got what they wanted.
And they still cling to that survival today. And Estinian challenges that phantom dragon, eventually giving up his own body in ether to create a way forward for everyone else.
He creates a wind that allows us to fly to the next area, pretty much.
And thus, everyone begins sort of to have two and two together and realize the horror of what's going to happen.
Yes.
If they want to proceed, their friends have to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
And that causes a lot of turmoil for Urianger and Alice.
Yeah.
Alphino's pretty choked up as well, but he recognizes sacrifices have to be made.
And so we end up into the next area, a desert planet that is home to these weird things called the Ea.
Yeah, the Ea basically, and they're hinted at in Meteon's initial crash out back on Elpis, the Ea basically sought perfection and sought an everlasting life. And in doing so, basically turn themselves into these gooboid creatures, which can basically exist seemingly without the need for food and live in crystalline structures. But they do so having gained ultimate knowledge.
They have gained the ultimate knowledge. They have learned what every middle schooler learns in 8th grade and loses sleep over for about a week.
Memento mori.
The heat death of the universe.
Yep. And so, although we go through a lot of social circles, because apparently the EA have lived for so fucking long, they have forgotten what social graces are, but do remember that they exist.
Yes.
And do attempt to feed us, despite the ritual not working.
Because there's no ether in this area.
But, as the Ea agree to go ahead and reveal the secrets of the heat death of the universe, Urianger pulls Graha and the Warrior of Light aside to basically say, I know I said I was going to stop on the secrecy, but I'm going to have to pull this card one more time out of both of you. And I need you to not go ahead and tell everyone.
Yeah. And basically he knows what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. And of course Y'shtola also knows what's going to happen, because she's the one who stands up to the Ea's thoughts that basically everything is pointless if everything's going to end millions of years in the future.
She basically fully rejects the self-determinism of the Ea and basically says, I want to go on my own journey to find this knowledge. And even if you think that it's going to lead to an inevitable conclusion, I will continue to search for evidence otherwise.
I will search for evidence otherwise, and I will live as I've always have, seeking out new knowledge.
And Urianger is more than happy to join her at this endeavor, both to seek his own knowledge and so that way he can stop trying to hide secrets from everyone else.
Yeah. He no longer has to hide secrets, so he will join Y'shtola in the sacrifice. And Y'shtola even says to the party that there's a way to bring everyone back. Azim's magic, the soul crystal that Heidelin boosted up.
But Alice is immediately against that because it's only temporary, and if they use it now, they don't have a trump card for the future.
Right. So they basically they sacrifice themselves, and a portal activates, leading us to the final, well, not the final, but the second to last area of Ultima Thule.
Which is the outpost.
The Omnicrons.
The Omnicrons, which is
Omega's race.
The Omega race. Base Omicron.
Yeah.
So we go through and see the the race that Omega was a part of, and see that the Omicrons were successful in conquering the Dragon Planet, but then by the time they assessed the state of the planet, it basically was a lost cause.
So
a Pyrrhic victory of the purest form.
And so the head of the Omicrons, known as Sir, basically started encountering an error where he could not find an optimal path forward. He had wondered if all they were doing was facilitating wanton destruction.
And so the Omicrons have basically been in a holding pattern awaiting further orders, but no orders have come. And when the party attempts to interrogate Sir, who we also know as Sigmas, they are not able to get an answer out of him. He just simply says that they have conquered the dragons and that they are awaiting further instructions once the parts of Sir come to a conclusion.
Yes.
And so the party has to go ahead and find to see if there's any Omicrons acting irregularly that would indicate a part of Sir has gone rogue.
Which they do. They find one that's actually been looking at a tree that they had taken from another planet, and it starts philosophizing about why it keeps doing what it's doing, even though it's the last of its kind.
It's a tree that continues to provide ether and go ahead and sustain itself, even though it has no one to sustain it to, and it ponders self-determinism.
Yes.
To which eventually we realize that this is the part of Sir that is causing the problems, and has delayed itself because of the quandary that it's found itself in, and they basically force it back to its own mainframe.
They bring it back to the mainframe, and then Graha realizes what he has to do to stop it.
Much to Alexei's chagrin, he goes ahead and offers himself to go ahead and supercharge Sir with his own ether and create a pathway onward for the Warrior of Light and the Levier twins.
Dude literally crystallizes a path forward to us. Literally. The man is made of crystal at this point.
Yeah, no, crystal is love, crystal is life.
Yeah, but basically he talks about how he pulls us aside again.
Yeah, and says, "Promise me when this is all over, I can go on an adventure with you."
Yeah, he does. And Eternal Wind starts playing the Final Fantasy III theme, which is Graha's theme at this point.
Yes.
Damn it.
Yeah, the cat boy has really dug his way into the heart and just sat in there like a box.
He then talks to the Omicron Sir, talking about, how do we know that we're the same person we were yesterday?
Yeah, now we're doing the Ship of Theseus problem of, if I were to go, every time I get teleported, am I the same individual I was before, or have I died and become someone new?
Yes. I've made myself an extension of a tower. I've blended my soul with that of another. And he goes on and so forth. And he talks about a world that fought back from the brink of destruction and offers a hand to the Omicron leader, which they don't even have a response to it. They just turn into the bird and tries to engulf Graha.
They are a race that sought perfection through constant warfare and conflict. And once perfection was reached, where else was there to go?
Yep. And
so we go ahead and we make our way to the end of the world.
To basically the Acropolis, as I think it's...
The dead end. The dead ends.
Well, not yet. That is the dungeon.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was looking for the...
It's
not a warpable area.
It's not a warpable area. I believe it's called the Acropolis.
Yes. The Necropolis.
Necropolis, thank you. Because it's a dead area that when Medion showed up there, she couldn't find anyone. Yes. The only person there was Medion. And so the twins realize this. They realize that the one barring their path is Medion herself. And so they fight back and give their speech. And we try to stop them from doing that because, what would your mother say if I let you do this?
Yeah, your mother would not be very happy with me, although I think that she has bigger problems to deal with the cooking portion of. Nonetheless, the twins realize what has to be done. They make their own heroic sacrifice. And we come to this moment.
The walk.
The debuff that you get of the Endwalker.
Yes.
As you are startlingly alone, as you realize that there is only one path ahead of you.
The weight of 1,000 worlds weighs heavy on you.
And the only thing you can do is take one step at a time.
to which you walk forward and you pass by different shades of people that you have met along your way.
But you get a push from good old Ardbert first.
You get pushed from Ardbert first. You hear from Connie Senna. You hear from sorry, my brain fried for a second.
Yeah.
You hear Emmerich.
Emmerich, Horshafont, Ysael.
Beck Lug, Reen, Hien. God, I forgot the name of.
Here we go. I have the full list here. It's Ardbert, Horshafont, Murrowweb, Emmerich, Nanamo, Raubon, that was who I was thinking. Hien, Papolimo, Edmont, Beaklug, Midgardslummer, Minfilia, and then Ardbert one last time as we reach the top of the spire right before Medion's nest. Who she taunts us at this point because she's basically like, you're right there, but you can't reach me, fucker.
Yeah.
And using the crystal to summon your friends is not going to exactly help either. To which we pull out the crystal anyway, and we recall that we do have one ace up our sleeve. The memories from Vana.
And so we use them to summon forth two familiar faces.
Statler and Waldorf! No, it's Hythlodaeus and Emet-Selch.
By the way, have you seen a streamer by the name of Denmo?
No, I don't think so.
He's a Lalafell, but he's made puppets. He's made Muppet versions of Final Fantasy XIV characters, and he's actually made Emet-Selch and Hythlodaeus into Statler and Waldorf.
Yes! I love that! Because literally both of those two sassy fuckers come in, and having been sent to the Ethereal Sea and come back, they do regain all their memories.
Yeah.
Much to Emet-Selch's chagrin.
A right fool you've made of me, Hermes. Oh, come now. It's been a riveting tale, with lots of levity to counterbalance the pathos.
Yes, and now we must go ahead and play our part. And so, Emet-Selch and Hythlodaeus channel their energies and summon a literal bed of Elpis flowers at the top of the spire, which has enough dynamis energy to basically substantiate the entirety of Ultima Thule without the need of our comrades sacrificing their bodies.
Basically, we have changed so much about Ultima Thule through our actions that the Elpis flowers blooming as pure white as they are is a sign that
hope is here.
Hope is here. There is hope within all this despair. And with that, Emet-Selch says, your friends no longer need fight their fight, so summon them back to your side.
Which we can go ahead and use to reconstitute them around us, to which everyone is happy to be back, and Medion Real starts crashing out again.
I will say, some people did not like this bait and switch about the Scion sacrificing.
Oh, come on. They can't just kill them off like that.
I know.
We already pulled this trick once in Shadow Walker.
In Shadowbringers.
In Shadowbringers. But at least that one was a little bit better, I think. Up when it came to, with Graha and the Crystal Exarch. I think this time it was better foreseeing, you're going to get them back. We don't have to worry as much.
Yeah. So, there's no worrying about that. But again, some people complained about it, said it was a detriment, but I really didn't mind.
No.
Also, it kind of fits in the theme of Final Fantasy IV, where everyone supposedly sacrifices themselves, but they all come back at the end.
Right. And so, Medion crashes out. There's at least a part of her that realizes that we were at least somewhat right, and tries to talk herself out of this, but she rages out, and we are approaching the final battle.
We enter the Dead Ends, the final dungeon of base Endwalker.
Which basically is a collection of some of the worlds that Medion went to, and basically is replaying for us to try and stop us from confronting her.
We enter a world that is full of death and decay as a tiny little otter race in cute little
diver suits
basically became a warmongering race.
Yeah, trying to have cleanse and have their own superiority.
Yes, and they basically just felt a plague.
The next one is more traditionally apocalyptic. It's an advanced, almost like cyberpunk race in which they're going through basically the T-1000 war, and it ends with the last warrior launching all the nukes and destroying a far-off city.
Yes.
Before realizing in horror that he's basically the only person left.
To which Medion even said in her report back in Elpis that they talked to this person, which then proceeded to self-terminate.
Yeah, that's fun.
And then the final one, we get to a golden paradise.
Which is a death cult!
Which is a death cult. Because they have found perfection. They have eliminated all sorrow and maladies. And they're bored as fuck.
And so they seek solace within the boss of the dungeon.
Praise Rala.
Praise Rala. Which, that was a very interesting fight, I will say.
Yeah. The fights in this are pretty rough. The first one, you have to basically avoid plague, otherwise you get a doom stack on you.
Right.
The second one, the Peacekeeper, is just basically bullet hell.
Yes, and then you have the Last Mercy Rala, which goes ahead and has a massive jumping attack that goes ahead and goes off in sequence.
Not to mention, it's got its own doom attacks as well.
Yep.
Because you need to heal the person up to maximum, otherwise the doom will kick in.
Right.
And once that happens, the Golden Paradise turns away to ash and darkness.
And we can confront the Endsinger.
The Endsinger. God, what a fucking name.
It goes hard, and she's no longer holding back. She realizes that we're an actual threat at this point, and so she starts raging on us like she's fucking Hades.
She is literally throwing planets at us. I should also mention the Endsinger is literally every single one of Medion's sisters fused together into one.
Yes, with one little shard that is rebelling against it as hope.
Yes. And the Scions are trying to fight back. Estinian gets blasted by a planet. Thancred gets protected by Urion J and blasts another planet. They try to fight back, but it's just overwhelming. It's attack after attack, which you also see in the fight itself.
Right. And at this point, the Warrior's Light is like, no, we're not playing this game. And he goes ahead, he pulls out the remote that he was given from Moonbreeda's parents, activates it, and lets it go as they're all being sucked into space. And immediately, Alice freaks out because she knows what he's about to do, and she's mad as fuck as she gets teleported off and realizes the Warrior of Light's going to confront the Endsinger by himself.
She literally even said, "Don't shoulder the weight of the world by yourself."
And before she can finish, she gets teleported off with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And so the Endsinger taunts us, saying, like, you're going to go ahead and fight me alone.
You're going to suffer. I am going to make you suffer until you see my way.
And then we get a cutscene which brings us back to Old Sharlayan.
Actually, we saw that earlier.
Well, we still didn't talk about it because as everything is going on, people are standing outside of Old Sharlayan, hoping, praying something occurs. Kryl gets a vision of the end of days occurring at Sharlayan, but shakes it off because it's just a vision. It's not happening yet. But the reason she might have gotten that vision is because a certain sad boy has made his appearance on the Sharlayan, and he's got a bone to pick.
To which, cut forward to this moment with the Endsinger, there's suddenly a knock on the Endsinger's ultimatum.
And busts through Shinryu.
Hello, best buddy.
And Shinryu's like, look, I know that you're busy with this. I made a deal with the short one. I help you take care of this. I eventually get my duel. Savvy?
Yes. I do love the line he says. I take it this is your prey. But why does it still stand? Surely it is a no match for you.
To which the Endsinger is kind of insulted. And Xenos is like, fuck off. I have to go ahead and make sure that I get what I want at the end of this.
To which we jump onto Xenos' back as a dragon, and we activate the Crystal of Azem as we begin the final day's trial.
Yes.
Holy shit, this fight is good.
And so this is probably the moment of Endwalker, just this entire sequence. It starts off as a typical boss fight, and you're getting, all the typical fixings that you've expected at this point.
You see the planets crashing into one another, making big AoEs, knockbacks, feather attacks, And then they start to rewind the planet explosions and re-exploding them.
Right.
In multiple spots.
In multiple spots to mess with your traction. Eventually, the Endsinger spawns its ad phase, and you start having to deal with a bunch of smaller demons as ads and having to go ahead and...
There's one demon, but it's throwing planets all around it. You have to defeat it before it drops its giant big purple nuke fuck me button,
Mm-hmm.
to which the tank, aka me, had to do a tank LB to basically survive it.
Yes, which you go ahead and have to go ahead and understood that, and then it does it again.
It rewinds the attack to do it again. You think you're over and done with, but then all the scions shout from a distance, "Light the way!"
And you get one more cutscene. It's a series of cutscenes, but you get clip shots of all the scions who were praying for Cartano in their original poses, plus the twins, plus Estinian plus Estinian also praying, and Graha, and each of them basically holding out prayers and putting their faith into the Warrior of Light to overcome this.
And creating a shield that blocked that attack, which is such an overwhelming wave of positive energy that it starts making the Endsinger flail in disgust and just can't even keep up with it.
No, the Endsinger had triggered the Warrior of Light's enrage.
Yes, he did, because our theme starts playing, baby.
Yes. Our hearts aligned it's just golden. It's just absolutely perfect.
I should also mention that after every single line the Scion says, you actually get a buff stack.
I apparently found this out through doing some research. They actually had to go ahead and modify this fight, because before, people were beating it before all the lines could be said from the Scions. So they actually rechanged the spacing so that way you would actually be able to get all the buffs.
Yeah.
Because otherwise people were beating it before every line was said.
I always wondered about that.
Yes.
Because it felt like you could take that boss down too quickly otherwise.
Yes, and so they did have to change it.
But basically, your theme starts playing and you kick the Endsinger's ass. Basically, every single one of the Medion's sisters is burned to a crisp, except for one form. And it's Medion's basically gotten a hard reset.
Yes, and so she's still despairing, but she's looks up at you and knows that there is a purpose, even if she's scared of it.
You who are my final encounter, I wish to know your feelings, to hear your words, know your feelings, hear your thoughts. May we please be friends, and we give her her answer. The answer that Hermes was seeking was always there on Aethercast, because we made it. You gather happiness, precious and few, only to lose them again and again, until death takes you into its gentle embrace.
Yep.
That is life. You find happiness where you can, even when it's taken away from you. That is life. And with that knowledge, she offers one final song of happiness and joy, and the sun rises on the horizon.
Which would be our way back home, except for Xenos having unfinished business.
Hear me, not as an adventurer, not as a champion, but as simply you.
And Xenos throws down the gauntlet for one last fight at the end of the world.
At the edge of the universe. And to be honest, he really breaks the fourth wall in this.
Let me ask, I know I picked the answer that outrightly accepts his challenge. Is it optional? Or do you basically get goaded into it if you choose?
You have to fight him regardless.
Okay, I figured so. That's why I chose the most willing option.
You cannot walk away, but I feel like the first option, that I cannot deny, when he questions if you do things for your own sake and no one else's, he is calling out the 14 community and their ability and their desire to challenge and do raids and that stuff like that.
Right.
He breaks the fourth wall, and honestly, the only answer that fits to me is the answer that I cannot deny.
Mm-hmm. And thus begins the actual final boss of Endwalker, the Xenos instance.
And that is a hell of a fight because you are given a buff where basically if you drop down to 0, you are revived with all your energy.
You basically get because it's a full instance without healing. You're given this as basically your life bar, but you also have to be worried because he does have one insta kill area attack that will instantly kill you if you get hit by it.
Yes, and honestly, it's a hit that is kind of guaranteed to happen.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm honestly a little disappointed that a test of your reflexes comes from such a very telegraphed move. However, I was also playing Machinist, and I can give a fuck about his range. Yeah. So I basically was running away from him the entire time, doing pot shots at him whenever I could.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. So I played it as Dragoon the first time, and trust me, I almost got my ass beat.
Yeah, I eventually realized, like, oh, I need to go ahead and actually not, stand in the fucking thing to get hit.
Yeah.
But I only think I lost, like, 2 pips or 3 pips on it, so it wasn't that bad.
So you kick his ass once, he then re-energizes and uses his Reaper in Shroud, and you have to fight him again. He is still not satisfied, as he basically tries to knock you down again, and then you have to do basically a button-mashing minigame to try to fight back before the biggest Gurren Lagann reference I've ever seen happens.
Yes.
Where you and him are just dropping your weapons and just throwing hands.
And outright throwing hands like it's Simon and the anti-spiral at the end of the fight. Which, yeah, and you do eventually clock him to the point he accepts defeat before you collapse as well. Thank God no one lost an arm, otherwise it'd have to be a Naruto reference.
Oh dear God almighty.
But Zenos kind of is at this point, he is fully sated. He cannot deny that he gave it his all and that he knows we did the same.
Yeah. And he also asks, was this life worth living? Did you find any purpose in it? Which is a question that has been asked multiple times in this expansion by not only Xenos, but also Vana.
Yes. And it's something that, again, we saw mirrored through even the Scions as they were all wondering what they were going to do next after everything was finished. We did skip over one important part, I realized that. In the final conversation with Hythlodaeus and Emet-Selch, before we go ahead and confront Meteon, Emet-Selch also shares this sentiment about, what are you living for? And it's like, you do realize you haven't gone to see everything out there, right?
He literally talks about the golden cities, the forgotten South Seas Isles, the ruins hidden beneath the bounty, the other reflections. As the bearer of Azim's crystal, it is your duty to see them all.
Yeah. He also mentioned Mira City as going to see what happened there.
Yes.
And so he, in that line, basically sets up effectively the second arc of Final Fantasy XIV, as he hints that you still have adventures to come. And I hope that you're, as the bearer of Azim, you will continue to see them through.
I will say, most of them have already been explored in the post-Endwalker content.
Oh, okay.
The ruins at the bottom of the bounty, the Forgotten South Seas Isles, let's see.
The New World is Dawntrail.
The New World is Dawntrail. Let me see, what else? I think that's the majority of the ones that we have explored.
Yeah, and then that's why everyone's thinking that after this expansion, we should be getting into Mira City at some point.
I'd like to hope so. We'll see what happens, because Mira City is supposed to also have been heavily affected by the Void.
Right.
So we'll see what that entails. But regardless,
we go ahead and we're sort of stuck here, and we are actually, passing out, actually dying from getting our ass handed from the ass thrashing we had to give Xenos. And so we pass out in the middle of this, but we do see a familiar beacon being triggered.
Being dropped on us. I don't know if it was Xenos who threw it at us, or...
I think a particular Bluebird dropped it for us.
I think the Bluebird dropped it for us, because they saw what was going on.
And so we are kind of lost in the ethereal sea for a moment, as we are on the verge of life and death. And we can vaguely hear out the cries of the Scions before we're eventually brought back on the Ragnarok.
And we wake up and credits start to roll.
As everyone is like, why did you risk your life in a single death match, you fuck? And everyone is both amazed, scared, processing the emotions. before it's revealed that we are back on Aetheris and we are back in Old Charlian.
Yeah, they flew off while we were recovering, and the credits start to roll, and Tataru runs wildly towards the harbor to welcome us back.
And she is ever so grateful to see us all back in one piece after having to wish us off to what was almost thought to be certain doom.
Yeah, she's had to wish us off to certain doom so many times, and she's just happy to have us back.
Yes, and so we go ahead, and as everything plays, we are cut back to walking through the void and seeing the Scions walking alongside with us, as well as the Amaradians who are walking back. Hermes, Hythlodaeus, Hades, and Vana walking back, and us walking forward to the future of what is to come.
And it ends with a beautiful splash art of everyone going their way. Hermes holding on to Medeon as she apparently has returned to him in a sense.
In the blue boar form, while everyone else goes their separate ways, and it closes. The title card closes as we are brought back to
the Rising Stones.
The Rising Stones, where Alphino is penning a letter to his mother saying the Scions are being disbanded.
At least that's what the story will be.
So, with everything that's happening, and with seemingly no conflicts left to have, Alphino kind of feels like this is a natural ending point for the Scions.
Pretty much, because their job was literally to stop the Ascians, to stop their machinations, and basically everything involving them has been mostly resolved.
And so the Scions have resolved to, for the most part, go their separate ways, but know that they're a link pearl away should they need each other. And everyone is discussing what plans they have for the future.
Let's see.
You get the opportunity to go meet with everyone. Urion J wishes to go ahead and continue his adventures with Thancred. Alice wants to go ahead and...
Alphino and Alice are both going to Garlemald to try to help with the restoration. Y'shtola is going to start doing research on traveling to other shards.
She does ask you whether or not to pen the adventures as everything that has happened, knowing that if she writes down her adventures, everything that has happened may be corrupted and translated in ways that are unintended. But if she doesn't, then the stories die with her.
And I honestly agree that the story must be told.
And so she considers putting pen to paper and will go ahead and reach out to you if she needs help ghostwriting her memoirs.
Estinian is actually being called on by Vitra to actually help with the Radiant Hosts and stuff like that.
He will do anything than return back to his husband Emmerich. He would prefer anything else.
To be honest, there's actually a bunch of fan art of Estinian hooking up with Vitra.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's already had one dragon inside of him. Once you overcome that hurdle, I can't imagine it's too hard the second time around.
I mean, fair enough, but that's another thing. Graha is going with Kryl to reestablish the students of Valdesian.
But he says, as soon as you get something interesting, please take me with you, senpai.
Don't worry, we'll be doing that as soon as the Alliance raid starts up.
So the Catboy will answer the beck and call, and Alice certainly doesn't want to be left behind either. She is the vice president of the fan club for a reason. Co-president of the fan club for a reason.
But yeah, everyone is ready to go on their way, and then they ask, what does the Warrior of Light intend to do?
We don't give our answer explicitly, but we do get distracted temporarily as a bluebird flies by our path.
We then watch as the camera follows that bluebird as it then crosses over the horizon with the Crystal Tower far in the background, as it ends. Rest well, young hero, for our journey never ends.
And now, the Alliance raid teasers. Or
the Alliance... Well...
No, the trial teasers.
No, it's the normal raid teaser.
The normal raid teaser, which we are brought back to Elpis, where another man in white is pondering about the future.
About pandemonium. And if you couldn't tell by the voice actor, it's fucking Elidibus.
And so we are going ahead and we are given that teaser for the Pandemonium raids.
Which we will not be covering now because I think we're way ahead over the time limit.
Yeah, very briefly, I did want to do. I will ask Rei'tan to go ahead and do a sort of final overarching conclusion thoughts. I know we did that at the start, but at this point, you usually ask me, "What do I think of Endwalker?"
Yes, that is true. So, Endwalker, I find to be almost perfect. It is often tied for me between Shadowbringers and Endwalker being my favorite. It shifts depending on my mood.
Yeah, no, I can see the arguments for both. I do personally think, because of the better ending, I do think that Endwalker has it right now. My opinion may change after the post-patch content, but for right now, I haven't been this emotionally satisfied since fucking Stormblood with an MSQ.
Really?
Yes, because I know we still had issues with Shadowbringer, although that one was equally excellent. I feel more relieved, I think, sort of, in just the way that it's ended right now.
Yeah.
I also should mention that when we did the last stretch from the boarding of Ragnarok to the final conclusion in our Discord community. So we had a couple of friends joking along with us for the ride, and it was a fantastic experience. So shout outs to Morden Lumi, Wanamiko Nile, and all of our buddies in the Discord who came along to help out.
Yeah, thank you all for that. I really appreciate you helping Leo through that, because I knew that certain parts of it might take a little while, and I didn't want to waste a single second.
Well, it was also just absolutely fun doing it with more people, and I was asking people, what were your Warriors of Light doing when they went through this the first time? What is it that your Warriors of Light wanted to do? We will give our thoughts on that, but I think that story will be for a different podcast where I kind of want to give how do you get into Final Fantasy now that I've gone through the entire thing for 14. But to answer the original question, which was, what do I think of Endwalker? I think Endwalker is worth the hype. It is ultimately the center point conclusion to what has been over 10 years in the making.
Literally 10 years in the making.
Literally 10 years in the making. Aside from the bit in Garlemald that I've already harped on about, the entirety of the questline is perfect. I felt completely entrapped. I loved all the characters. I loved how they brought everyone back, provided you did the proper content. We also neglected some other side characters that made sporadic appearances to help out. We got to see everyone. We got to see Sid. We saw Tataru. Everyone came back, and we really got to see the culmination of over 10 years of work into making probably one of the best long-term stories I have seen in a long time.
And to be honest, it's a game that is going to stick with me for the rest of my life.
It, honestly, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Endwalker released in 2018?
I believe it was 2020.
2020. So it came out, during COVID, but I would say, at the end of this, I would say it's about as much impact for me as Undertale has. And I think right now, the Undertale community would certainly have their own thoughts and opinions about that.
Yeah. Okay, Endwalker came out in December 2021.
Okay, so yeah. So I would say it's had about as much impact as Undertale for me. It has been a hell of a journey, lots of notable characters, lots of stories that I've not been able to really tell through here because this is mainly about my experience through it, and I haven't been able to share a lot of those stories about meeting people, about learning the system, and I think that podcast that I mentioned where I want to talk about that content will be the appropriate channel for that. But just experiencing myself with the story, absolutely amazing. It is worth the hype. It is worth the content for going through Endwalker. Absolutely 100%.
So you don't regret me dragging your ass into this?
No, I don't. This has been a valuable use of $14.99 a month.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't stop playing it. This game has its death grip on me.
It's fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what the next story beats are going to be. I look forward to seeing what adventures we're going to have. But for now, I think I think I need a rest. My Warrior of Light needs a rest. And I think we need to go ahead and call it for here.
Yep, because we are almost 4 hours into this podcast, and I think that's a good place to end it.
So, everyone go ahead and enjoy yourselves. If you've played 14 and come across this page, give us your thoughts about what your Warrior of Light would be doing at the end of Endwalker. And next time, we'll be discussing, hopefully, role quests, patch content, and maybe we'll have our reflections on if I were to do this all over again, what would I do differently?
But for now, this has been Ray.
This has been Leo.
And we're signing out. Take care and have a good day.
Until next time, Warriors.